There we are. We are live, which means there's nothing else left to say. But, ladies and gentlemen out there in podcast, whoa, that's not the right. That's not the right intro at all. Hold on, I've been doing my drops, bro. That's what happened.
No
I
worries,
did the
it happens.
drops.
This is what live's fun. They people can, if anyone is watching the first 7 seconds of this, they
Yes,
can see how
yes. Now I need to go.
how
I need to go back into my on autopilot because that's the only way that it works. If I think about it too much, it doesn't. And here we go. Hello, everybody out there in comic book land. My name is George Serrano, aka the Don. And if you're listening to this, you can only be here for one reason, and that's a brand new episode of the Major Issues Podcast, brought to you each and every week by comicbookclick.com. As always, I am never alone. Sir, if you could please introduce yourself.
All-Star Asa Falcone.
Asa Falcone is here, and I'm glad you're here, bro, because we're like family, Just come over here and sit on this park bench with me, and let me just tell you how close we are as family. Boy, oh boy, we are here to talk about the show that everybody has been talking about. The dust has literally just settled on the latest chapter of Matt Reeves' The Batman universe, The Penguin, an 8 episode miniseries that made its debut on Max a little bit earlier this summer. And this was a show that a lot of people have had opinions about. There's been a lot of digital ink spilled. IGN has lost its mind completely about what it thinks this show should be. I'm rocking my Harley Quinn shirt because it's not the first time we've centered on a villain in Gotham and sort of given them a spotlight. But why the Penguin? I had so many questions. I was a big fan of Colin Farrell's performance in The Batman. Absolutely
Mhm.
unrecognizable. I knew people after I saw that film that I told that to. They were like, "Who was there?" That was Colin Farrell.
My wife still doesn't believe me.
No. Somebody made the joke. We used to just have funny looking guys like that back in the day. Now we gotta make them like oh, back in my day. So yeah, man, completely unrecognizable in the outfit. This is a different version of Oswald Cobblepot to the point that we're calling him Oz Cobb. It's very different Gotham as established in the Batman. Before we get into our full recap and review, we'll be going episode by episode and kind of talking about how this entire story plays out. But before we end up doing that, what did you think of this series? Spoiler free to those who still haven't finished, or for those who are on the fence or just caught this podcast or this video and they kind of want to know, uh, you know, should is this worth it? What do you feel about the Penguin?
Oh, this I don't like to use hyperbole, but this show was perfect. And I don't say that lightly. Like it was so well done. The writing just I can't think of a show as well done since like a Vince Gilligan show.
Yeah,
It was just so well written. The acting was phenomenal. The story was wild.
yeah,
It was real fun to see the Matt Reeves Penguin become the Penguin,
yeah,
for lack of a better term.
yeah.
Oh yeah, phenomenal. 10 out of 10.
So you would recommend it?
Oh, to everyone,
Awesome.
and then their friends.
And then their friends. I similar. I'm a huge fan of this show. I think I was won over in the Sophia solo episode. I was kind of digging it, but I think that's when it really started to kind of really start to pick up some steam.
Hmm.
And it's ironic that you use Vince Gilligan, obviously the architect behind the very famous Breaking Bad series. And one thing that I think this show um kind of has in kind with Breaking Bad is that it has these characters that it very playfully will change your opinion on and your emotion on towards. I remember watching Breaking Bad sometimes and being completely on Walt's side, and then Walt will just do something selfish or petty or prideful, and you go, "What are you doing?" And then it's just a reminder. Well, this guy may not be a good guy.
Yeah.
You know, we get all into the weeds of the underworld, and we, you know, mourn characters who pass away, and they were like, wait, all these people are scumbags. They're all
Hmm.
murderers. They're all bad guys in this situation, and it very much is true with this series. With this series, um, every time I found myself kind of rooting for Oz, they found a way to make his
Worse.
actions inexcusable. Inexcusable. To say it the lightest way I can, they always find a way to remind you that he's a piece of trash. They will not let you leave without reminding you that he's a piece of trash. And the fact that he is so irredeemable kind of made this show go up a level, in my opinion, because it does give you nuggets of sympathy. It does give you throughout the show little bits of going, well, guy's handicapped, and the guy's
Yeah.
down on his luck, and the guy's mom's not all there, and then they start putting in the other blocks, and you're like, oh no, maybe he kind of does deserve everything that's
Yeah.
happening to him and more. And so the roller coaster, I think it's worth it. I think it's worth it. How you're how you have your own morals. I think it kind of reflects back onto you. Some of the stuff that you would do or down for, and some of the stuff that you're like, okay, well, that was way crossing the line, and we'll talk about them as we go. Um,
Hmm.
but like at one point, I'm like, no one I'm rooting for is good. Even if I'm rooting for Sophia at someone down the line, like she's got a body count. Like there's no clean cut good person in this, and it almost goes to show something that they've said multiple times, or at least try to allude to multiple times in Batman comics, how Gotham just swallows these people, how Gotham and the underworld just swallows these people all they know. You know. Spoiler alert: there's no Batman in this series. I wanted to ask you up front, did that bother you at all, given the nature and gravitas of some of the action that we see here?
No, at this point, it feels like the Penguin isn't really, not to say like be just dismissive of him, like he's not a high enough level threat to be a
Yeah,
Batman threat, but also, I mean, the Batman, the Matt Reeves Batman, essentially, it felt like Batman Year One,
yep,
like almost like he's still getting his his feet wet. He's still learning how to be the Batman.
hundred
So
percent.
we may not have had that. He's not. I don't since he's not ready yet. Well, he's not gonna go after some um, spoiler low level guy
Right.
like Oz Cobb to this point, even though they may have, I guess they did. They definitely came in contact in the Matt Reeves Batman.
Yeah. So I'm the same way, and maybe I'm making excuses for it. What I find ironic is that we just covered not too long ago Foile Adu, Foley Ados. And I said so many of these scenes could have been better if Batman was in it. If Batman just randomly, what are you doing in court, Joker?
Yeah.
He just showed up and knocked down the door. It would have been, but
Where are
like,
the other drugs?
yeah. But for this, I not only do I not mind him being in it, like my mind wrote 10,000 headcanons. This takes place a week after the events of the Batman, which means this takes place a week after Batman's biggest failure. He ain't beat Riddler. He ain't stopped the
Yeah.
explosions. He lost. He lost and he got his butt whipped. I think at one point he had to inject adrenaline straight into his veins.
To keep it going, yeah.
Just
Something
like
like that.
yeah, so you want to talk about like at home licking his wounds? That's most likely what Bruce is doing here at this moment. Licking his wounds, apologizing to Alfred for all that he put him through in that first film. Um, And another thing that I like about this before we get into our full recap and review is that Oz, while obviously having some features to like resemble a penguin, a bird, as is, his mannerisms are always like of a rat, like of a rat that just needs to survive.
Hmm.
Literally scurrying underground at
Yeah.
certain points, hiding, trading on people, all that stuff. And it's one of those things. It almost reminded me of Saul Goodman. You talk about Vince Gilligan, right? But it's like that. I want to make a montage. I think I'm going to because I was looking at the last episode over again. And spoiler alert: Oz is in custody of somebody he doesn't want to be, which I think happens in every episode. But that's what I want to get. I want to get a super cut of people shoving him to the ground, pointing a gun in his face, and saying it's all over, Oz. And then he gets out of it. And then we can get to another instance where he's shoved down to the ground. He has a gun in his face. hey, it's all over Oz, and a brilliant way in that, and I think it's gonna have a lot of rewatchability. But one of the things I think is super cool, and this is something that only really happens in comics. Um, in comics, you have these big events like like Civil War, but those big events mean more if you've read Spider-Man up until Civil War, because you kind of have a idea of who he was as a character and how this event will affect him. When we watch the Batman 2, we have like an inside knowledge of what's going on with Oz Cobb, what's going on in his head. All of his actions will mean so much more moving forward. What a cool little like way to entertain us between films. The only thing is the Batman don't come out for another 2 years.
Yeah. Is it
So
August 2026 now? Something
yeah,
like that?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So we still got quite some time in between this and the film. But I like this model. I know James Gunn is doing his own thing, but hey, give me like movie, show to flesh it out. Movie, show to flesh it out. And he
Yeah,
even
100%.
and I wouldn't even be surprised. It looked like they were doing a little bit of a backdoor pilot, possibly for some more adventures, or at least leaving the back door open for some more Penguin season 2 stuff go on.
I I have seen they're trying to pitch it to, and then that he's definitely involved in Batman 2,
Yes.
but he's really gonna be involved in Batman 3, which is cool. They're giving us a whole they're already going, hey, we're having a trilogy at minimum, you
Yeah.
know. So and I just dug how Matt Reeves did it.
Yeah, and
So yeah,
you got to do Joker last, man. Like
$100%.
you got to do him. Like, leave him all the way out there. Flesh everybody else out. But my fear about Joker Penguin season 2 is because that's why I have Joker on the brain. Is I hope it's not a Joker 2 thing. I hope it's not a we told the story we want to tell, but it's making so much money and now we kind of have to do it again. You know what I'm saying? I
Yeah,
hope that if we do get a season 2, we have a story to tell. Um, One of the things that they said that the showrunner said kind of inspired this is Scarface, and I there is a lot of Tony Montana in
100%.
Oz Cobb as far as pride is concerned, as far as how he feels people look at him in comparison to like I mean like there's a lot of pride and a lot of machismo wrapped up in who Oz Cobb is. So if you're ready, we can go ahead and get into our full recap and review. I just got to do, put up the homework up front. Let people know that we're talking about The Penguin, an American crime drama miniseries developed by Lauren LaFranc for HBO, following Oz Cobb's rise in Gotham's criminal underworld after The Batman. LaFranc serves as showrunner, with production by DC Studios and Warner Brothers Television. Colin Farrell reprises his role as Penguin, joined by Kristen Milotti, Renzi Felice, Deidre O'Connell, Clancy Brown, Carmen Ejogo, Michael Zingin, and Mark Strong, amongst others. Amongst others, I know you're never jealous of me reading those parts of
No,
the
not at all. Not even a little bit.
this. But let's go ahead. Full spoilers. If you haven't watched this show, we're going episode by episode and chatting it up. I'll be giving you guys a synopsis of the episode, and then we'll kind of chop up about how we felt about some of the things that went down. So we pick up 1 week after the assassination of Carmine Falcone and the destruction of the Gotham City seawall. We see Carmine's second in command, Oz Cobb, aka the Penguin, show up at the Iceberg Lounge to steal some jewels and a blackmail ledger from Falcone. He's caught by Carmine's son, an heir apparent to the crime throne, Alberto Falcone, who holds him at gunpoint. Penguin tricks him into lowering his guard by exploiting his addiction to alcohol and drugs. They have a bit of a chat, and Alberto spills about a secret drug shipment and his ambition to take over the family. Penguin mentions Rex Calabrese, maybe it's Calabrese, a guy who earned respect by helping the needy. But Alberto mocks Penguin's ambitions, which leads to Penguin to impulsively kill him. At first, he laughs it off and then realizes the gravity of what he's done. All Star Asa, this kind of is what sets everything in motion. And in retrospect, how petty.
The most. Like 10 out of 10.
How do you feel?
Again.
How do you feel about this moment when you first saw it, and it's as somebody who's watched the series and realized that this is the first domino? How does it? How do you think this moment frames Oz?
Um, so like You can kind of tell that once Oz kind of gets him to drop his weapon, is that was it is it Alberto?
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
Hmm.
You can tell he just has Alberto eating out of his hand. Like he's controlling the entire situation. And then he kind of tells him the story of Calabrese. And then once Alberto gives any level of disrespect, you could tell all of the calm and collected Oz is there, and it's full on impulse.
Yeah.
And like that's almost the exact definition of Oz throughout this entire show. Calm and collected until he's not, and then it all goes to shit.
Yeah. Yeah. This kind of spirals quickly from this very moment, and I think one of the best pieces of acting in this is what I had to put him in my notes. Like he shoots him and then he like laughs, like, "Hey, you see what you did, you idiot!" And then he suddenly all of it dawns on him, and now it's a mad race to cover up this body. But he never had to shoot him. He really could have played this long game. It caused him so much trouble doing this. It literally is the linchpin of this entire series, and why he gets the Falcons against him. But yeah, I like how this is all played out because he he knows Alberto to a T, to the point that he can get him to divulge all this new information about Bliss and all this other kind of stuff, but not enough to play the long con. Couldn't play it cool enough to play the long con. Had to get him right here in that moment
Hmm.
because he felt slighted. So and one of the things that we'll realize very soon, if Oz feels slighted, it's a death sentence. You don't deserve to live. Isn't that a lot?
Yeah, a lot. Yeah.
That's pretty major. So, Penguin wraps up Alberto's body, then finds some kids trying to steal his car rims. He shoots at them, leaving only one, Victor Aguilar, alive. Penguin spares Vic's life, forcing him to help and warns him not to run. They drop Alberto's body in a junkyard, and Penguin takes a ring off his finger, once owned by the rival mob boss Salvatore Maroni. Penguin plans to kill Victor next, but decides to keep him around after the kid convinces him he is used. Oh, he'll get his use. Penguin meets Penguin meets Johnny Beatty, the Falcone underboss, who tells him the drug operation is moving to Robbinsville. Penguin protests, but then pitches Alberto's plan as his own. Sophia Falcone, Falcone's daughter and serial killer known as the Hangman, interrupts, inviting Penguin to lunch. She questions him about Alberto's disappearance, and though Penguin denies knowing anything, she doesn't buy. So this is the beginning of a lot of what sets the other half of this in motion. It's this idea that Oz thought he had a clean shot to the kingdom once Carmine was dead, and all he thought he had to do is blackmail Vidi, get people not to trust Vidi, and then he rises to the top. He forgot about all the kids, Alberto, which now he's gotten rid of, but now Sophia's
Yeah.
here. Um, how do you did you was there any sympathy in your mind when they were basically effectively telling him we're taking the operation from you, we're moving it?
Um, I wouldn't call it sympathy. I would say it was more of a, oh, this is why. I don't know what he's gonna do, but I know he's gonna do something,
He's
and this
got to do
explains
something
every
now.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And so yeah, this is probably the last straw.
This won't be the first instance of him doing it, but how do you feel about Oz lying? Think he's a good liar?
He's such a good liar.
Yeah.
I believed him. I knew it was wrong, and I was like, man. In every scene, and like I believe Sophia says it at one point, he knows exactly what to say in the exact way. He just reads situations so effectively
Yeah.
that and again, it's kind of like with Alberto. He just knows how to read every situation and make it go to the way he wants it to go. So everyone's eating out of his palm, or at least he has control.
Yeah. And what's ironic is that a lot of what he does in these lies is like ego stroke. He knows that these people want. He'd be like, hey, the whole operation is yours or whatever. Or he'll be like, hey, I wasn't gonna tell you, but we got this thing going on, and we could cut you in halfway. Like he's always trying to cut a deal. I think it's so interesting, and I love how Kristen Milotti's Sophia seems to have a bead on him in this moment, and seems to be one of the few people to kind of see past BS. I'm not gonna lie, I thought they would be on the same side for way longer than they were in
Oh
this
yes,
in
100%.
this.
I thought, oh, he's going to use her to essentially replace the entire family, and
Right.
she's going to use him as a means to an end. And I guess I was right about both of those things, but
Yeah.
not entirely at all the way I thought it was going to happen.
Yeah, it was not a straight line from A to B. We took a couple of detours and some flashbacks, but we got there.
Yeah.
Um, so Penguin then visits his mom who has dementia and confesses to killing Alberto. She encourages him, saying that it was just a first step in his rise. Inspired, Penguin offers to work as a double agent to take down the Falcone family, but Maroni isn't interested. Before leaving, Penguin returns the ring. That's another thing. Like, I love that Maroni from the beginning is just like, you're a piece of trash. Like, I don't want to talk to you. I'm not trying to deal with you. You're like a notable piece of trash, and I know that you're a piece of trash, and you're obviously trying to do some piece of trash stuff right now. I'm not down, but it was that ring. It was the ring that
Hmm.
was stolen from him, or from the, that he was able to now rock in the prison for it's ego stroke. Ego stroke
Hmm.
again. All of this could be yours. I got a new operation, bro. You ain't even heard. Ain't even heard about it. Um, so I like that as well. And then Clancy Brown.
Yeah.
Like, boy, I don't know anyone who has his comic book resume. That guy is in everything. So that's
Yeah.
fantastic as well.
Yeah, he's been in the last few times I've been on. I know he's been at least in half of that. He's been in
I wouldn't
half
be
the
surprised.
things. Like,
How do you say that? I wouldn't be surprised at all, man. I want that guy's agent, but I want.
yeah.
They set up this whole thing with his mom having dementia, but they do like this double punch where they punch you with the dementia, but then like he says something like, hey, whatever, whatever, and then she's like, "What are you, some kind of pussy?" and
Yeah.
then your other half of your brain goes, I don't know if this lady's on the up and up. How did you feel about this first introduction to Francis Cobb?
Well, my not to go too far into myself, my grandma had dementia, and it was very like, oh, like this is like the writing is phenomenal
Yeah,
because it was like super lucid, super regular, super, and then out of nowhere, just oh, where am I? Oh, here's a random room, and then whatever. Oh, and then back to the serious. And I thought the acting, I'm not sure who the actress is, but she crushed it.
yes, she did. I have family members dealing with that as well. Absolutely frightening because you're trying to
Mhm.
be there for them in every sense of the word, and sometimes they don't. You can't be there for them because they don't know where there is.
Yeah,
And that's heartbreaking. But in the same sense, like when they are lucid, they end up saying some of the most truthful truth because they're back at their
gonna
core. And I
hurt.
think like that happened with Frances a lot with this, where whenever she did manage to gain a level of reality, she would kind of the first thing that came out of her mouth, whether it was missing her boys or feelings towards Oz or whatever. So I thought that was also pretty realistic. Um, there's a level of so it's Deidre O'Connell plays
Okay.
Francis Cobb, but there's a level here also in this introduction of fake fake richness. Like
Yes.
like there's this level where like he's promising his mother more and more, and she seems to be down like rocking jewelry in the house, and but
Hmm.
they're not there. They're obviously not
Yeah.
there, but they're playing up. They're almost like cosplaying rich,
Big
rich,
rich.
yeah, big rich. Um, and I to me that plus the way she spoke to him was spelled danger because obviously she knows how to put a battery in his back, and get him to do things, but also is any of this really obtainable? Like you're telling her
Yeah.
you're gonna tackle both mobs and come out of this alive, and she can't help it anyway. She performs. She's got dementia. So like I thought that was really interesting. And I do think that initially it's kind of made to be a something to you could sympathize with him.
Yeah. Hey.
It can be argued after the fact he might have induced this. Like the pure weight of all the stuff that these two people go through and the pure mental weight that Francis goes through. I wouldn't be surprised if, you know, some
Yeah.
wires
All
got
the
crossed there and
all the Oz stress.
yes,
I guess
yes,
quite literally.
yes.
Like
Yeah, totally. Um, yep, before leave, oh no, Sophia, suspecting Penguin, catches up with him, and after a chase, has him captured. At the Falcone mansion, Sophia reveals a kid involved in the car theft has implicated Penguin. Oh yeah, 'cause he's like, yeah, he was. Someone stole your car outside of
Mhm.
Alberto's, and she has amazing crazy eyes. She has great crazy eyes,
Mhm.
and it doesn't feel crazy cuckoo like it's a not
Yeah.
trusting glare.
Yeah.
It's a I'm opening my eyes to see all
Yeah.
of you and all of
Like
this.
I see you.
Right.
And that's you don't want to be seen. Like
No.
he, especially Penguin, he wants to kind of move, like you said, like a rat. He
Yeah.
wants to move in the shadows. He wants to get from A to B, and wants no eyes on him. And
Yeah.
she definitely notices him, which is
And basically, in this moment, has him dead to rights. We have your
Mhm.
car. That guy tried to jack it. He said that you were there. Oh, he's lying. And then she like shoots the kid in front.
Yeah,
She just shoots
just
the kid in front of him, and you're like, oh my god, none of this is.
yeah.
He denies it. It gets the kid killed, and he's tortured for info on Alberto. Just as things get worse, a car crashes into the garden with Alberto's body inside. Penguin is released and reunites with Victor, secretly framing Maroni for the murder. As they drink slush puppies, Penguin shares his plan to take over the Falcone family, inviting Victor to join him, and Victor agrees. What I liked about this is as soon as the car crashed, I knew exactly what it
Mhm.
was and what was going to be in that back seat because you saw that him and Vic were trying to plan something, and then he ends up getting captured. And I'll say that one thing that I love that those dominoes fell exactly as they did. Just it was kind of sloppy to the point that Sophia, like she never her eyes never really left Oz, even though
Yeah.
she knew that
Like,
this was framed to be a Maroni hit. Her eyes never really left Oz. The other thing that I will say is and I'm trying to find the way to say this that doesn't seem questionable. But what a convincing prosthetic work of the entire body in this moment where he's chained up to like the lawn chair or whatever. He's just like in his underwear. So you just have this big hairy man.
oh,
no,
I thought you were talking about Alberto. I'm
no,
like,
no,
he
no.
was chained. Oh
No, I
no,
meant
in
Oz
with
Cobb. Yeah,
yeah, with yeah, okay, yes, oh yeah, it's phenomenal, very well done.
yeah. Like the first time you see him, like yeah, that is how it would look under there.
Yeah, oh, just hairy
His
and
hair and flaps, flaps and
it's
hair.
just it's like me with my shirt off. My poor wife.
Uh, uh, imagine this, bro. No. Anyway, uh, so
Oh, hey, good thing they fake rich.
yes, yes. So we were shown that even though she has been released from Arkham, Sophia is still in therapy. After hallucinating Alberto's murder, she has a panic attack, but when her therapist, Julian Rush, tries to calm her down, she storms out, insisting she's not safe. She's just home. I really like this wordplay because I think what he told her was, "You're safe, you're home." She's like, "Well, I'm one of those things.
Yeah,
I am home, just not safe."
I'm half of those things.
Spoiler alert, Julian Rush doesn't turn out to be anyone. There were a lot of speculations as to who this man could or should be. Were you disappointed at all that he doesn't turn out to be anyone of note in the Batman universe, or do you think that reveal is still left on the table?
Yeah, as soon as he appeared and they said his name, I immediately like went to Google and I'm like, Julian Rush, who is Julian Rush? And then my first thought was maybe we're going to get some sort of weird Hugo Strange reveal because that would be really fun.
Yeah.
He's like one of the few characters I feel like we've never seen, at least not in live action.
No,
Uh,
Gotham had one, but that got a tree falls.
yeah. uh, and then so
Sorry, Gotham fans. Continue.
I, I yeah. No, so that was one of my like maybe we get some form of Hugo Strange out of him. But no, because I didn't know the Vic.
Yeah.
I also I started watching this on episode 4. I started catching up and I
Mhm.
did a quick Google of who is Vic, well, what's his name? Fuentes? Is that something like that?
Aguilar.
Aguilar, okay.
Yeah, yeah,
The actor's last name is Felice.
yeah, yeah.
Um, but I looked up uh him, and then as I click on the first thing, it's an immediate episode 4 spoiler, and I'm like, yeah, I really don't want to Google
Oh,
anything.
yeah, yeah,
I don't
yeah,
want to Google a
yeah,
single
yeah,
thing in the show,
yeah, yep,
and then
yep.
so everything else until I caught up is I didn't look up a single person.
Yeah, that's the worst. Cause yeah, you click in and it'd be like so and so was a character on the page. What do you mean was? What
Yeah.
happened?
It says deceased, and I'm like, man, like,
Yeah,
God,
where
like,
did we go to? Yeah, because episode 4 is a Vic episode, is a Vic
yes.
flashback episode. Um, so yeah, a lot of people were saying Hugo Strange. A lot of people were saying Scarecrow, but I figured if there was if he was Scarecrow, they would have just put it on the money. I think the Scarecrow thing is because he kept alluding to like having skills that can be used if, but it
Yeah,
was
the
that. Yeah,
light.
it ends up being the therapy light kind of thing. And to my knowledge, there's nobody in the comics that does anything like that. And the closest thing to the Vic situation is Jason Todd tries to steal the wheels off the Batmobile. And that's how Batman finds
Oh
him
yeah,
and recruits him to be Robin. But that's the only thing I could think of, like someone trying to steal wheels, kind of thing.
that's got to be a fun like. Oh hey, look,
Like
he has a
nega,
Jason Todd too.
yeah, like a nega version of the whole thing. Um, Penguin goes back to visit Maroni at Blackgate, who's pissed about Penguin's recent actions because Penguin just said basically the Maronis did this. Penguins defends himself and convinces Maroni to stay in their partnership, planning an attack on a convoy headed to Robbinsville. And again, he's like, "Hey, don't worry, man. We're about to do this thing, bro. We're about to get this hit, and I'm about to pretend that I didn't know what was going on, and you could take all the drugs. Don't worry.
Yeah,
I'm just not gonna be in the hot
yeah.
in the
Hit
hot
those
van.
two.
Yeah,
Don't hit here. Hit
whatever you
here.
do, whatever you do, whatever you do." And then Johnny Beatty forces him into the armored truck instead of the car, which is the one place they were supposed to gun everybody down
Yeah.
indiscriminately, was in the armored truck. And just seeing the wheels turn and again, a rat, like seeing the wheels turn, like, I have to be able to survive this. And the poker face, because anything more than what he gave them would have tipped him off. And how do you not give a face of pure fear when you've set up for this vehicle to basically be Swiss
Yeah.
cheese? You know, really good at ramping up the tension here, because I'm like, again, should I be rooting for him? I don't know, but I thought he had everything under control. He sounded like he had everything under control. Maroni's crew ends up intercepting the convoy. They kill most of Falcone's men. Penguin barely escapes and insists that he's innocent, but Sophia's like, "How are you the only one left alive?" And then she's like, "Well, there must be a rat. There's got to be a rat here somewhere." So Falcone's brother, Luca, steps in because he's like, obviously there's a rat. I'm taking over, and he kind of like little sisters Sophia. Like he kind of like, "Hey, thanks for coming, but you don't, you stay out of it."
Yeah. You should go
Um,
somewhere else. You should go to Italy.
how do you feel about that in hindsight, given how this family sort of turned back on Sophia in the first place?
It's I think it was the same scenario to Arkham. Hey, we don't want you as part of the family. You go somewhere else. Now Arkham was there was a reason for Arkham,
Yeah,
where I think Sicily was more of a you're just out of our hair over there. Go do your thing. Your dad's dead, your brother's dead. Like your side of the family is effectively gone. And then from everything I've seen in mob movies, there's rarely ever a woman mob leader.
yeah,
And then so it's like, well, your side's done. All the males are gone, so you just go over there and just be rich.
yeah. And there's no sympathy for her in losing a father, in losing a brother. Like there's not like, "Hey, how would you like to help us plan to get your pound of flesh out of all this?" It's all like, "Nah, we got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got it. You should go." Um, and I think that that's something that the Penguin also notices as well, because he'll try to use that later on, and they're like, "Oh, they hate both of us. You see how they look at us, kind of stuff."
Mhm.
I'm like, "That's how they look at you, bro." I mean, they do look at her that way too, but they gotta look at you. Also, just randomly, because I just said they look at him that way. I love the choice of giving him that slash across his face and replacing those teeth with gold. I don't know why. It's just such a sleazy, sleazy facade. Obviously he's
Yeah.
done something to cause a need for someone to cut him across his face, damn near kick probably his teeth in, and get him replaced with gold. And again, like maybe gold was the only thing at a certain time, but it's been
Yeah.
depicted in every bit of animated media of all time. The bad guy has gold teeth. He licks them.
Yeah, he's definitely a gangster.
Yeah, yeah. So undeterred, Sophia and her ally Castillo bribe the GCPD detective Marcus Wise with drops to investigate the heist. Penguin gets called to his mom's house after her dementia worsens. He refuses to put her in a care facility despite his landlord's concerns. After Alberto's funeral, Sophia gets a call from Wise, who kidnapped Maroni's top guy, Irvad Hakimi. Wise says Irvad could name the informant behind the heist. Nadia Maroni assigns Penguin to grab Irvad before he talks and gives him photos of Vidi sleeping with Luca's wife Tina. At Alberto's funeral reception, Vic tries to sneak diamonds into Vidi's car to frame him from Alberto's murder, but is caught by bodyguards. He tried his best. He tried
Yeah.
his best. Penguin finds Irvad in the basement and talks him into framing Vidi. But when Victor warns that he was spotted, Penguin just kills Irvad with a switchblade. Like, yeah, no need for you anymore. But this is the best part. Sophia and Luca discover the body, so they lock the entire house down. And they force everyone involved in the heist into one room. Start closing doors. They're like, "We're all right. We're gonna search Olia because somebody was just killed, and it was a knife." So Penguin's got the knife in his hand, and again,
Yeah.
I'm like, should I be rooting for this man? I don't know, but the stakes are high, and I
Yeah.
kind of want to see how this plays out. And so, uh, yeah, they get everybody there. Penguin plants the knife on Castillo, and when Sophia tries to shoot him, Lucas steps in and executes Castillo himself. I'm watching this moment here because this moment is a machismo moment. It's kind of to cut the legs out from underneath Sophia.
Mhm.
But as viewers, we know all this conversation's for naught. This is just getting Oz off the hook. If you kill
Mhm.
Castillo in this moment, you got your rat, and we can stop looking. And I'm just like, I can't believe he did it again. This is the second episode, and this is the second time, dead to rights, he's gotten out. You're like,
Mhm.
all right, fine, you know. So Penguin that night, Penguin forces Victor to dig graves for Irvad and Castillo, and then afterwards he's like, yeah, lay down there. I'm gonna kill you.
Oh,
And he's like, no, please, whatever. He's like, no, no, I'm just telling you, you gotta stay focused or you'll end up dead like
yeah.
them. All right, bro.
That was the second time in 2 episodes he was like, "Yeah, turn around.
Yeah,
Hey, look at
I,
that sunset."
I'm done with you. I'm done with you.
Yeah.
You've served your purpose. Um. Also, this is to anyone and maybe even ladies. Someone's doing this to you. Just go. They're trying to make you go. Just go. I'm very,
Yeah.
you know. In a flashback, Victor drops off some tools at his family's apartment before heading back out. This is the Vic episode. Meet friends. His father's disapproving of one of his friend's cousins being a known drug dealer. While hanging out with his girlfriend Graciela on a rooftop, Victor witnesses multiple explosions across Gotham, including the destruction of the seawall at the hands of the Riddler. From the rooftop, he watches the flood hit his house and kill his family. Um, Now obviously this was depicted in the Batman. I love
Yes.
how harrowing, how horrific, how I mean, bless you if you've never been in a place with a natural disaster like a tornado or a hurricane or any of that kind of stuff. But it happens just like this. We are paper boats, and it just comes and demolishes, and takes and takes and takes. And watching him watch that rush of seawater just literally slam against his apartment,
Yeah.
really, really, really rough stuff. How do you think they handled that and the whole like seemingly PTSD aspect of it that he got from it?
Well, you could tell he definitely had some level of survivor's guilt after the fact.
Yeah,
You know, like fight with his dad, he leaves to go do his thing, and then just to have, his entire family stolen from him, in by the Riddler, no more than 3 or 4 weeks before where we're currently at in the timeline.
yeah,
Like he's had a tough couple of weeks.
yeah.
Um,
That's another
and
thing.
then
They make it seem like there's a flashback. Like we're going all the way. We're not going that far back. We ain't going
yeah,
that
it's a
far
month
back.
ago.
Yeah,
Like no, I do like how you see how his dad seemed to be like a good guy, like a good dad. He's very present. He's still teaching him, hey, just because he's doing that, you don't need to be part of that group, part of whatever. And then I even like how he's even following his dad's advice, and he continues to do so after he dies. Hey, that guy's a bad guy. You don't want to be around him. And then he kind of walks away, only to see shortly thereafter, while following his dad's advice, he gets to watch his dad die.
yeah,
Well, not real Sam.
yeah, yeah. No, 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 no. It's a heartbreaking stuff, and I think one of the heartbreaking things that you kind of realize is that he developed a stutter because of it.
Hmm.
The whole situation. There's like one moment in here where he doesn't stutter, and it's kind of heartbreaking. But he's incredibly meek. He wasn't built for any of this life. He really just fell into it, and this relationship with Oz resembles a sort of family. It's the only semblance of family that he has, and he's willing to go to hell and back for it, literally ride or die. And you, it doesn't scream to me as anything but desperation.
Yeah.
Look at the guy. Look at Oz and tell me that you want that guy proud of you, or you want that guy happy with you, or any of that kind of stuff. But he's in it now, and that's what he wants. Um, in present, Sophia introduces Penguin to her new drug operation, a product she calls Bliss, which was used on her and the Arkham inmates. Penguin helps set up a new base by arranging a meeting with Link Tsai, a triad member. Meanwhile, Graciela visits Victor and tells him that she's leaving for California to start over. Vic reveals he's working for Penguin, and his girl urges him, please leave him and please come with me. He's tempted, but he just ends up giving her money for bus tickets and tells her to buy two. In Chinatown, Link holds a grudge over Penguin's unpaid debt and demands Johnny Viti's support for arranging a meeting with the triad leader Feng Zhao. Outside, Victor runs into a cop but smooths things over by letting the officer confiscate, quote unquote, his remaining cash. Something later, Penguin later congratulates him for. So he's learning.
Hmm.
Cops ain't
Part
learning
of
nothing.
part of the trade.
Yeah,
Like,
that's breakage. Yeah.
yeah.
At dinner, Victor opens up about his family, mentioning how his dad became a mechanic instead of a chef, and how he never asked for more from life. Penguin toasts to him, advising that he should aim for better because life's tough for honest people. I think this is the hey, you put cilantro on this, the whole thing tastes like soap. I love that. I loved all that.
Oh.
He's so funny.
Poor Oz, his poor genetics.
Yeah,
Can't
he's
enjoy
got the worst of the worst,
cilantro.
the leg.
Like
Yeah,
everything just wrong.
you know what's weird? I don't know why, and maybe we didn't see him move around a lot in the Penguin. I thought he got that leg thing. I'm like, wow, are they gonna go back to this whole leg thing? But it's from childhood.
Yeah.
I don't know why I thought he like was tripped in the events of the Batman somehow, and now it's more exaggerated or whatever. But yeah, he seemingly always had this.
I think it's a good way to retcon it.
Yeah,
I think I mean I don't really believe in retconning a lot. I think it kind of takes away from a lot, but I think making it where it's a childhood thing, so he's always had the odds kind of stacked against him, and somehow he's thrived all the way through, really shows you to the level which he's willing to go.
it also I like the idea that the Penguin is kind of a tease, kind of
Yeah,
a mean
it's a
spirited nickname.
mocking. Yeah.
Mean spirited nickname. The Penguin. And I don't know if this series came up with it, but Gotham was the first place I remember like him having like a foot injury that then caused like waddling. Because all the other Penguins, I believe, were fine. I mean, Danny DeVito was
Danny
quite literally
DeVito.
a ball. He's quite literally a potato with arms and legs, so he can't help but waddle. But yeah, wah, wah, wah. but yeah, I don't even remember when Robin Taylor's Penguin, he had to hurt his foot, and thus in that series he ends up having a limp that resembles a waddle. I like how they found practical reasons for all this stuff here. Still waiting for the monocle, but we'll see. uh, they meet with Zhao at a nightclub, but he's hesitant, calling Sophia's Arkham history as a liability. Sophia convinces him that the drug will sell after the chaos from the Riddler attack, but leaves the meeting upset after Zhao isn't convinced. Meanwhile, Victor has a panic attack at the club when the lights flash, triggering memories from the flood that killed his family. Rough stuff. That,
Hmm.
that girl's a cutie though. That one they kept trying to set him up with.
Yeah.
She's the one that drops the dime on Eve later, right? Is that the same girl?
Yeah, I wouldn't call it dropping a dime, but yeah, same one.
Well,
Yeah.
Eve wanted that to happen. We'll
Yeah.
talk about it, but yeah.
Eve gave her the dime. Like,
Go ahead, drop this.
yeah.
uh, so, we were just talking about the flood. Penguin is thrilled with his new triad partnership, but upset when Victor says he wants to leave. with Graciela. He feels insulted that Victor thought he had no choice but to work for him. Penguin lets Victor go, and Victor steals his car to head to the bus station, but ultimately decides not to leave with Graciela. Um, one of those moments, right? One of those
Yeah.
moments on rewatch you just watch, and it's like,
She's like,
there's the
oh.
fork in the road right there, bro, right there. Um, there's a lot of like all the parts of a toxic relationship and how he talks to Vic, right?
Mhm.
Like in this bathroom scene. Um, one of the code lines that I like had posted when I saw the episode, like, damn, he was like, no one gets famous, living in the projects or whatever, dying in the projects, and I was like,
Mm.
that's kind of rough.
Yeah.
I mean, it is what it is. Like,
Yeah.
he's just saying it plain as
He ain't
day.
wrong.
Yeah, he's saying
Like
kind of just saying it plain as day. But all this pushing away is to keep him
yeah.
in a weird way. Is this like from his mom? Like, is this like just this idea that he kind of fears that everyone's trying to get away from him?
Um, I don't see. I always thought it was a kind of like he always was what to say in every situation. I just thought it was his way of doing reverse psychology, like knowing that Vic's dad parents are all dead, knowing that everyone that ever had his back is gone. I gave you a chance. Like, get the hell out of here, or whatever he says.
Yeah.
And then I thought it was his move of. Especially later when he says what he says in the next thing that I'm not going to spoil for anybody, but I just thought it was his play, just because he kind of knows how to read people, and Vic seems timid enough to fall into any trap he's given. And at this point, he's done it several times over.
It's also weird that Vic he barely knows Vic from a hole in the wall, but when Vic decides to leave, there is an anger there.
Hmm.
There is a he's hurt a little bit, and like I
Yeah,
said, and hurt at the
like
you could have left whenever you wanted to kind of thing. It's like
yeah, you you threatened his life twice. Why are you
yeah,
mad he wants to
yes,
go
you
now? Like,
literally made him dig his own grave, and then you were gonna shoot him in there. Um, so back at the nightclub, Penguin and Sophia argue over who's really in charge. Penguin's mistrust of Sophia's mistrust of Oz deepens because of her Arkham time, leaving their power dynamic unclear. Um, they have like kind of a little sweet moment here out here, as they kind of talk about like they allude to a past
yeah,
here, and they allude to having a history. Um, Penguin tries to patch things up, but just as they're talking, Nadia Maroney and her men ambush them, ready to execute Penguin for his betrayal. Episode 3, third time, dead to rights, on
hmm
his knees. He immediately turns on Sophia. Were you surprised about that? I was. I thought he'd find like a
100%.
I thought he was gonna find like a middle ground. But he's immediately like, no, I would never work with her. Like I'm just using her. I'm using her and the
Yeah,
Falcons. They're idiots, whatever. I'm like, yo, and the the look of her, and she's looking
yeah.
towards him, just literally, spouting all this. I thought all of that was very, very well done.
Well, it's almost like you could tell she was like almost like against her own better judgment. She finally started to believe him. He's helping me do all this stuff, and she's put him in his place a couple times here and there, like this is my thing or whatever. But it's almost that was the moment where she was like, "Oh, he's who I thought he was."
Yeah,
Like, that's on me.
and it's a double, right? Not only is he who she thought he, not only is he who she thought he was, and may have always had an inkling of when she got arrested,
Hmm.
but he's almost worse now, right?
Yeah,
Like these are not little fibs here and there for ego's sake.
yeah,
He's playing two families against each other and might be responsible, as she'll find out later on, for the death of Alberto.
yeah.
And yeah, all that stuff. But like, I love the look on her face of like just betrayal, like just shocked betrayal.
Hmm.
And it goes to show, like you said, even though he's a piece of trash, he did win her over with that whole like it's us against them. They'll never respect us. They'll never put us on their level. So we're gonna have to take this from them, kind of speech.
Yeah.
He was another. She was another pawn for it, just a little bit.
This was the episode where I was like, "Oh, this is us seeing them tear the world down." And then this was that scene where I was like, I don't even know where to go. Like, what writing? Like,
He went right back to the hands that fed him. Like he went right back. Like we were over here talking about toppling the systems, and as soon as he gets a gun in his face, he's already like, no, yeah, what do you need?
yeah,
I'm right
yeah,
here.
hey, rat. He's
Yes,
a rat.
yes. But ultimately, even though they have him dead to rights, they end up being saved when Oz's car plows through, um, plows through some of Nadia's men. Um, but then they get in the car, and Vic's like, he's like, "Go ahead, Vic, take great work, kid," And then
Yeah.
he's like,
I always knew you'd be back.
yeah. Then he's like, and then she's like, "What about Sophia?" He's like, "Fuck Sophia."
Yeah, yeah. The worst.
And again, I don't know why, but I thought that their partnership friendship was gonna last way longer.
Hmm.
So when they're already like this, and this will she puts the call in later on next episode, the beginning of the next episode, of being like it was Oz, and
Hmm.
we start a whole new adventure. But now it's Sophie. Like we spent the first 3 episodes kind of like setting the groundwork, but what we thought it was gonna be ends up being something completely different. And I love the way that they're able to do that. So outside the nightclub, we now get things from another perspective. We see Nadia Maroney confront Sophia with the truth about Oz's betrayal. So she did tell him, or tell her straight up, including his involvement in Alberto's death. Oz begs for his life like a rat, admitting he only used Sophia to get close to the bliss in front of Sophia.
Yeah.
Absolute garbage. When Victor shows up and crashes
Thank
into
you.
Maroney's henchman with a car, Oz escapes with him, leaving Sophia badly injured. He calls Dr. Rush for help, but collapses from her wounds. This is the moment where she's able to grab the phone and say that it was Oz. What's interesting about this is like it's all from another perspective. So when we get with Vic in the episode prior, and he pulls up on the club, he just sees that they're both on their knees, and then we
Yeah.
know that he saved Oz. But we now learn from this perspective, Oz laid it all out. He just laid it all out. There was no like, you're not getting nothing. There was nothing like, oh, it's like, oh wait, no, my social security number is. Like, what do you need?
Yeah.
You need a testicle? I got two. Hey, what are you looking for here? Um, so, uh, yeah, she passes out from her wounds here. She calls the one person she could trust. She doesn't call any other Falcone. She calls Dr. Rush, before she passes out to
Yeah.
her wounds, which is
See, I thought it
interesting.
was a panic attack. Like she had such a severe panic. I mean, literally gun to her
I mean,
head. Like I mean,
that's also a bit of it. I wouldn't be surprised if all that
and then
cocktail of
all the
bad stuff.
Oz stuff turning on everybody. Yeah, I again, I cannot give enough credit to the writing to the writers of this movie of this television series.
Yeah, we live in a
Uh,
world full of imperfect people, so I think it's intuitive in our human nature to try to find the good in everyone presented here. And
mhm.
then the more we look for the good, it's one of those like, what is it? Look into the abyss and it looks back at you, kind of kind of
Yeah.
situations. So we get into what is possibly the hallmark of this episode, a series of flashbacks that kind of detail where Sophie has been and why she is the way that she is currently. So in flashbacks, we see that Sophia discovered her mother Isabella's body um, hanging, and it was deemed a suicide. Years later, Sophia runs a foundation in her mother's name and grows close to Oz, who drives her around. At the time, um, Oz had told Vic that he was a driver, but just not Sophia's, correct?
Uh, I think so.
He alluded to like working his way up, but he didn't. I don't think
Yeah.
he ever said that he drove for Sophia, because that was revealed here. That little Oz was always, in the
Yeah.
background of all the big Falcone. Because when we meet him, he's Carmine's number one or number two or whatever you want to call him.
Yeah.
You know, and he got there basically by pushing the daughter out or helping the daughter
Yeah.
get pushed
Jesus.
out. Um, so I think that that's interesting. At a charity event, reporter Summer Gleason approaches Sophia, telling her that several women from the Iceberg Lounge have died under suspicious circumstances, just like Isabella, who were choked to death. Sophia brushes it off. Carmine, Sophia's father, now played by Mark Strong. Did you have any issues with this recasting for this?
No, the original actor, I cannot think of his name for the life
John
of me.
Turturro.
Yes, he said he would have never taken the original Falcone part if there was violence against women in that way. And I'm like, I respect that, but like he was a mobster. Like, I mean, we can agree to disagree on that, but like again,
One of his last acts in the Batman is his attempt to strangle Selena Kyle to death. I don't know if you remember that or not, but
I do
he
not.
was like just like your mother, and
Oh,
he's like strangling her. So like, I don't. Crisis of conscience aside, whenever you do feel like like if you have your lines you won't cross, I'm not against
yeah.
it. But it kind of reminds me of when Jim Carrey went back on Kick Ass 2.
Kick Ass 2, yeah.
You know,
Or yeah.
yeah. So he's like, you're not gonna make me feel bad for watching it, but stand your ground wherever you can stand your ground. But just know that you were just strangling Selena Kyle not that long ago.
So that's an interesting. Oh, I don't want to go too far, but I didn't. I forgot that because her mom, because Selena Kyle's mom was she was
Dead too,
strangled.
I believe. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yep. Yep.
that's what a fun. No spoilers here, anybody. Don't worry. Don't
Yeah,
look too
yeah.
far into it yet.
And I also don't
But
know if I would use the word fun, but
yeah.
interesting.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Interesting.
That's
But it's
fun, synonymous with interesting.
Carmine's just like back in my day we used to use our hands. We used to we knew
Yeah.
how to use our hands back in these kids all want technology. They always wanted the fast way. So yep, expresses pride in her and hopes that she'll succeed. He says that you're going to be the next in line, not Alberto. Lets him know straight off the rip.
Crazy progressive.
But the thing is, Sophia, is starting to believe, given what she just heard from Summer, that Carmine might be the person killing these people. And she ends up confronting Carmine about it. And I thought this scene was played so masterfully because she is giving him outs.
Yes.
She's telling
It
him what the truth is, which is I found marks on my mom similar to marks made on other people that were strangled, and you had blood on your hands. And
yeah.
I remember that distinctively, but I must have been remembering it wrong, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it was.
And how heartbreaking, because she's confronting her father. She loves her father. And confronting her about quite possibly murdering her mother. And
Mhm.
is playing this so carefully. And Mark is not selling nothing as Carmine. He's got those literally rose tinted glasses on, and he's
No red
looking
flags.
he's looking past her. You understand? And in the instance in which he is being accused of this by by Sophia, she instantly stops becoming somebody he can trust.
Yeah, it was almost like she immediately became a threat.
Yeah.
And instead of handling threats the way he's previously done it, he does it the new way.
Yes. So, like I said, Carmine insisted it was a suicide. Summer keeps pushing to Sophia to help prove that Isabella was murdered, pointing at the strange details. Sophia begins to think Summer was right. Sophia's investigation into her mother's death leads to trouble. Carmine confronts her, revealing that Oz snitched to the police and that Sophia is now under investigation for the deaths. He also notes that his hands were injured on the day Isabella died, but dismisses her concerns and orders Oz to drive her home. They're stopped by police, and Sophia is arrested for the murders, including Summers, because now Summers dead. By the
Yeah,
way,
poor journalist. Yeah.
by the way, she's sent to Arkham for 6 months while awaiting trial, where the media dubs her the Hangman, as because she's now being attributed to all those deaths. I also want to say really, really quick. Sophia has named the Hangman in the book by Jeff Loeb, Dark Victory. That's where the character comes from. Sophia's
Mhm.
Falcone. The Long Halloween deals with a series of murders that take place with the Falcones and the Maronis. And then its sequel, Dark Victory, introduces Sophia coming after the fact, after there's been a whole bunch of murderers and stuff. But this is all fake. Like she's not killed these people. This moniker does not belong to her, but they're calling her the Hangman. She does a great job in the beginning of this playing spoiled mobster.
Mm-hmm.
Like she's like in a party gown. She has her makeup and her hair done, and she's like, "So when am I getting out of here?" And they're like, "Well, no, you're actually not." She's like, "I can't do." They're like, "You gotta do 6 months." She's like, I cannot do 6 months." That the way the panic just comes over her,
Yeah.
very realistic of like somebody who's never really had to deal with any of this before.
Well,
Uh,
she's been a party girl the whole her. I would say her like. There's a whole bit in one of the other episodes where she's like, "Oh, those boys at the lake,"
yeah,
like,
yeah,
oh, she's just like she's a New York Valley girl, like,
yeah.
oh, and then now it's like, oh, hey, some shit happened, and it looks like you did it all.
Real serious shit. And
Yeah.
you're basically being accused of it. So they end up bringing her to Arkham for 6 months while she awaits trials. And like I said, the media dubs her the Hangman. She's tortured by the other inmates and subjected to electroshock therapy, but Dr. Rush doubts her guilt. After 6 months, Alberto visits and tells Sophia that Ventress, her doctor, convinced the judge that she was unfit to stand trial, locking her away indefinitely. At her breaking point, Sophia kills inmate Magpie, a fellow inmate, before being sedated. This entire scene or series of scenes is not only incredibly heartbreaking, but I think top three biggest fears for anyone
Yeah,
to be
100%.
to be dang, what's the committed when you've not done anything or when you feel like you are 100% in your faculties and everyone else is telling you you're crazy. Um, what a masterful way to show the spiral when she starts to think, peel off the wallpaper, and it's the wallpaper from her home, and she doesn't
Hmm.
know what's what. Um, they forced her to become the Hangman, and they just hammered it and hammered it and hammered it until she effectively, by murdering Magpie, kind of becomes the murderer that
Yeah,
she was arrested to be.
she's become the person they made her out to be.
Um, I love the conversation with Alberto because you can feel her heart sink when they're like, "Oh yeah, you're not. They're not.
Yeah,
This
yeah,
isn't over. Past here. We're not gonna let you. You're not fit to stand trial. We don't know. We can try for an appeal." And she just gets up, right? He doesn't say
yeah,
anything. He's like, "We could try for appeal," and it's like, I would be the same way.
yeah.
Like,
What's the point
no,
of fighting? I'm
no,
here.
yeah,
Like
this is,
they,
yeah, this is like this is now my future. Now this is
yeah,
what and
they found a way to lock me in, and I can't get out.
it's one of those situations, and I had a conversation about somebody with somebody about this kind of subject matter. But it's one of those situations where you don't want to be comfortable there, but the only way to be comfortable there is to be comfortable there.
Hmm.
Is to resign yourself with, this is where I'm going to be. And I don't think she ever wanted to. And I think she held on to her sanity as much as she could, but in this moment with no light at the end of the tunnel, what do you do?
Just embrace.
Um and like it gets all the way to the point where she thinks Magpie is working for the doctors to put drugs in her food. That's the level of paranoia she's at this point. And when they tell her that like family member after family member after family member has testified against her, have all
Hmm.
said that she is unfit, that she is crazy. It's betrayal, it's heartbreak, it's the deepest parts of despair. They really put you in her shoes in this, and really, for me at least, got a lot of empathy. What do you think about the portrayal of all this, her whole situation at Arkham?
It was well. I think you don't often get to see someone be truly alone, and then every bit of hope is wiped, and then you even find out later that Dr. Julian Rush eventually leaves Arkham because he just can't handle it because he knows she's innocent, and
Yeah,
then so she becomes very much alone. Um, this was probably the scene where I'm like, man, like she's created, it's kind of it's Daredevil, but like it's the one bad day. She
yeah,
had one bad 10 years.
yeah,
And like and eventually, I guess when she finally resigned to it, the death of her father essentially makes everything go away. And suddenly she's free,
yeah,
which is crazy.
yeah. Like family, when she gets out, family means nothing to her because
Hmm.
no one was there to help her. So I thought that was a stellar portrayal, and like you said, just watching every bit of light just kind of dim out, like every chance that she could. I think one of the more heartbreaking moments is when like she like reaches out for Rush during one of the electrical, like please don't, like, can you, like, I
Yeah.
really am not, I'm not, and nope, just up the dosage. crank her up. Um, there's a really heartbreaking comic out right now from the Ultimate Universe that has similar implications of just torturing somebody to the point of just convincing them that they are whoever you say that they are. And so I think that's so affecting. This idea that it goes even to like to how people confess to crimes that they didn't even commit, so long as they are out of the 12-hour interrogation,
Yeah.
whatever that goes on. It's so twisted. It's so crazy. And again, I couldn't be in those shoes. Be in an insane asylum. I didn't even do anything just to take me off the board. So cold. It's so callous. Um, so in the present, Sophia wakes up at Dr. Rush's house, suddenly accusing him of having feelings for her rather than being motivated by compassion. She vents about her situation and realizes that it's the world that's broken, not her. The kids that are wrong. Later, she goes to her family home where Luca is holding a family dinner and blasts her relatives for abandoning her and labeling her insane to keep her locked up. That night, she sneaks Gia, her cousin Carla's daughter, out of the house, and they spend the night in the greenhouse. Next morning, Sophia returns to the mansion, having released gas inside, killing all of her other family members. But this felt like a gas queen moment. This felt like a go ahead and get it, girl moment.
Yeah, her speech at dinner was one of my favorite like speeches in the entire like series
I
because it was
agree.
very much a like you screwed me over, like you guys are my family and you left me to die, and so tomorrow I'm starting my new life without you, and it was very empowering.
Yeah,
And then you see that she goes and then she even makes a point to open the one window just so
yeah.
one person
So
does,
VD, yeah, so VD,
so
yeah,
Vidi doesn't die.
yeah,
And then she just walks through the house of all the dead bodies and
yeah.
just
In a
so
beautiful gown,
carefree. Yeah,
the new
just
haircut. She's really feeling herself in this moment, and then has the nerve to like tuck in the little girl in the in the
mhm.
greenhouse.
Yeah. Me and Alberto, we would always sleep out here, or whenever it was this really
Don't even
sweet
worry
moment.
about it. That gets
Yeah, they're
really
all fine in there.
dark later
Oh
on.
my God, yes.
So dark later on. But yeah, I think we're all on her side in this moment, knowing that the family has abandoned her. Like, screw them all. I'm down.
Hmm. Plus, they're
So
the mob.
and they're
Like
also they're also the mob.
like
And there's absolutely no reason she couldn't have done this without the speech. But she's been wanting to give that speech every day since she's been out of Arkham. Really tell these people how she feels. Um, and I think Oz's betrayal just sent her back to that world. Like, all it takes is one person to betray me, and I am, or who doesn't
yeah.
respect me or throw me under the bus, and I'm right back where I was. So we're gonna squash all that out right now. And yeah, poor Vidi. I just remember what happens to him.
Yeah. Yeah, he's yeah. Hey, you
He
could have
becomes
you could have killed him too.
a money puddle. So now we got to follow our other friends, Oz and Vic. So after they escape the nightclub, they burn the car in the street. It's a beautiful car. They burn it in the
Mhm.
street.
It was a
Uh,
Maserati, right?
yeah, it's a purple
Yeah.
Maserati. Victor worries that Sophia will retaliate, but Oz isn't concerned and thanks Vic for the rescue. To get leverage in the gang war, Oz kidnaps Taj, a Maroney family son. He's kind of a grew up,
Yeah, the worst.
and he forces Sal and Nadia to agree to an exchange. Taj for the mushroom shipment Nadia stole from Oz. They reluctantly agree. As Oz is leaving prison, he sees a news report about a gas leak that killed most of the Falcone family, with Sophia among the few survivors. But then, at the estate, Sophia is questioned by the chief of police, who about the deaths and Johnny Vidi's whereabouts, but she evades the questions. Beatty revealed to be held hostage under the Falcone family cemetery, where Sophia tortures him to get access to the family stash of money. What's interesting about this is like I like how Sophia turns. In the beginning, she's like this innocent, like sort of, what are your questions, officer? And then when she kind of realizes that things are pointing towards her, she gets really bitey. She gets really like defiant. And, like, we pay your bills. Like, what do you know what I'm saying? Like, what do you?
Yeah, I loved her. Well, I would start talking to the journalists or the cops whose money's about to get a lot lighter. I would sell those pictures or whatever. It was such an fu moment that
Yeah,
you see how bad Gotham is. How corrupt it all is across the board, and how she's calling up the I guess the commissioner right to his face.
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Like, Um, it's just another that this is like a figuratively body that the Gotham is just gonna bury and everyone's just gonna keep quiet about it, even though all
Hmm.
the signs point in one direction. Uh, yep. VD. Oh no, we did that. Oz's gang is nervous about the Falcone deaths, but Oz sees it as an advantage. Sophia did the hard work for them. He then assigns Vic to look after his mother Frances, which disappoints Vic because he's I want to like shoot people. I ran over those people. I think I'm good enough to have a
Yeah.
gun. And he's like, no, you're gonna watch my mom. Uh, Oz heads to a warehouse to meet Nadia, and on the way, he has his henchman Mikey attempt to kill Sal in prison. Doesn't work. Fancy
Poor,
freaking Brown.
poor Mikey.
Yeah, poor Mikey. Mikey gets got.
Yeah.
After delivering Taj, Nadia locks the warehouse doors, and a gunfight breaks out. So Nadia does what everyone else does: kills Nadia and Taj by setting them on fire. But the fire activates the chemical extinguishers, forcing Oz to leave with the mushroom. But me and you know what really happened. That was the play by play of what happened. But what really happened is he set them on fire, and there was well enough time put them out and leave with the mushroom.
Hmm.
But he sat there, he watched them burn, he smiled, and
Yeah.
then the fire alarms went off. How do you feel about that moment? Again, I don't think we've. I think the what happened at the end of this will fully turn people. But was this a
Well,
moment here where you're just kind of reminded about like this piece of
yeah.
trash?
You just see him relish in his victory. He can't win and go on. Like, yeah, they're dead. Whatever. That. Oh, but not whatever. You know what I'm saying? But like his death and then him watching them die.
Yeah,
And then like instead of going like, all right, well, but they're dead, they're gonna die, they're burning to death. Let's get the hell out of here. And then and then to watch the as soon as the spray hit the mushrooms, they explain how meticulous you have to do with the mushrooms early on. And
yeah.
so as soon as the spray happened, I'm like, oh, that was for nothing.
I
Whoa.
thought I thought people were gonna OD. I thought it was gonna be like a thing where it's like poison or whatever. But it literally makes like it turns him to dust. Turns all
Yeah.
his entire stash to dust. And I have no sympathy because again, like they literally show the reflection of the fire in his eyes. Like he's just, he's got one of those Cheshire cat smiles, just watching these people burn alive. Um, Sickening stuff. But that's what you got
Well,
coming to
it
him.
also showed that he's willing to sacrifice the big play just for small happy now. It's the impulse control.
Yeah, 100%.
It's back to him
I don't
shooting
think.
Alberto
Yeah, I don't
before
think
he
in the.
finds out any information.
I don't think in the grand scheme he would trade those things. But I don't think
Mhm.
he thinks that much in that moment. He's just, and like you said, he views life as a game that is constantly being played against him. So
Mhm.
anytime he's able to get any sort of victory, it's a time for celebration. He
Mhm.
runs home, hey ma, guess what I did? He wants everyone to be proud of him and wants everyone to be happy with him and wants everyone to celebrate these victories. But because he's such a piece of trash, he doesn't get a full victory in this moment. Gotham takes his drugs, his mushrooms, and they should have. But what I love is right here is a crossroads moment. In his mind, Sal's being chopped up to bits in prison,
Mhm.
and he just got all the drugs from the Maronis and the Falcones, because the Maronis were trying to take him from the Falcones in the first place.
Yeah.
Um, and he's good, but then he drives and finds out that the mushrooms are gone. That sucks. Ah, well, let me go call Mikey. He goes and calls Mikey, and Sal picks up. And so I was like, yeah, you're a piece of trash. And I'm like, oh my god, it's all falling apart again. Like it's been 3 minutes. The drugs are gone. Maroney's on the loose. What
Yeah.
what is to go on? I applaud this series' ability to constantly to up the tension over and over and over again. Every time you think this is a layup for Oz, he ends up back in the dirt. Well, what do you think about this series of scenes here?
Didn't he even go so far as to like, as the guy's like, Mikey's dead? He was like, I smelled the burning hair of your wife
Yeah,
and
yeah,
does
yeah,
like
yeah,
just to goad him further, like
yeah.
just
It's
like a
all
he,
ego, all ego
yeah,
because Maroney's like, yeah, you thought you'd kill me, Oz. Yeah, I'm gonna come get you, whatever, your piece of trash. And he's like, how about you try calling your wife? That's what he says. Like,
yeah. It's, he's just
it's
he's
it's drunken football banter. Shit, you just yell,
yeah.
hey, you a piece of trash. Why don't you go call your garbage wife or whatever? It's like, yo, like he has no decorum. He has
Mm-hmm.
no there's no button up to him, which is so interesting because he loves that life. He wants to be the clean cut, buttoned up mobster.
Like, yeah, the mobster,
But
but he's not about that life.
he's meant to keep his hands in the dirt. He's meant to play in the dirt. He likes to play in the dirt. You know, it's just so crazy how high his aspirations are when he cannot keep a lid on his temper or any other or any other stuff.
Um, no, I did like how when you see him going through how he finally finds the two little mushrooms in a barrel that just happened to be closed by pure dumb luck, and then he's like, all right, like okay, then you see the wheels start turning again. Do you like he's never going to be let down. He's kind of like in the movie Oh Brother Where Art Thou, how they
Yeah,
keep catching Babyface Nelson, and
yeah,
he's happy and then he's sad and they see him again, and he's happy and he's like go on the electric chair.
yeah. It's all
He's
the
that.
cycle. It's all the cycle. Like I said, and like I get. I don't know if you actually saw the series, but I get a lot of Saul Goodman from him. I get a lot of
Hmm.
like, okay, now what? Yeah,
Yeah,
we just lost all these drugs or something. We got to do something. So I guess we're
yeah,
just taking these two drug things. Yeah, Tal's out, but we still got to do something. And
yeah,
up until this point, I think he had given. Didn't he have like a big song and dance to his mom about like, oh, we've done it, ma. Like you understand, whatever,
yeah.
whatever, whatever. And then he comes back
We,
and he's like, we need to go. We need grab your stuff. we
we got
need
to get
to
the hell out of
yeah,
Dodge.
we need to get the hell out of Dodge. And you could tell that he's disappointed that he has to tell his mom that he lost in this moment. And his mom's like, he's a trash house you got me stuck in and got no electricity, reason, all this other kind of stuff. And then you can see how much he trusts Vic because Vic is in charge basically of watching his mom on point.
Yeah, I think that was one of the coolest things to see, like the evolution of Vic, how like Vic's not necessarily doing the important gang things. He's doing the important family things, like take care of my mom while we go do all this stuff. That just shows you the level of trust he now has for the guy who's literally saved his life.
Now that you said that, what's interesting is that he puts more pride in being a soldier, but we now know that soldiers are replaceable for Oz.
Yeah, they're expendable.
If anything,
Right?
the job that Oz was giving him is worth more. You
Hmm.
understand? And it's interesting that perspective because he's like, I want to do more, and it's like, no, bro, trust me, you are doing the perfect amount. Just do it
Yeah.
over there. Just do it over there with Francis, and we won't, There was a bit of me, and maybe they planted the seed with all the brother stuff. There was a bit of me that thought that Oz was gonna get jealous of Vic and his mom. Did
Oh
you
yeah,
get any of
I did
that? Did you
too.
get any of that
I,
sort of thing?
I thought that when right before they because this is the when they go to leave, Vic texts me to Crown Point when Vic comes in and he's like, oh well, like I'm Vic, and she's like, I know who you are, and it seems very motherly
Yeah.
when I don't recall ever seeing that scene with current Oz,
Oh yeah, you're
where you
right.
where you kind of get the motherliness of it, especially Vic, who's lost his whole family. And then, so I thought we were going to get like a budding rivalry,
Yeah.
um, but
And
we didn't.
it's funny that you say that because through the depiction of Frances, we're just led to believe that possibly she's grown this cold because of her mental illness.
Hmm.
But we're gonna realize real
Yeah,
quickly why she has it. And
yeah,
so in the beginning, when you don't realize what it's for, you're like, "Damn, Oz is a jerk," but I don't know if he deserves this
yeah.
level
No
of
one deserves their mom to hate them.
yeah this
Yeah,
cold shoulder all the time. It was a bit odd, but yeah, we'll realize why it's getting there. Meanwhile, Edie, after being tortured, agrees to work with Sophia and reveals that Sophia's mother, Isabella, was planning to leave Carmine, but stayed because of her children. What a knife. What a twisted knife in the gut. Like, your mother stayed here because of you idiots.
yeah.
You kids. And now she's dead.
He's
I was
my
like,
cousin. She's a
yeah.
beautiful woman. All right, it's her cousin.
Yeah,
Man,
relax.
bring it back
Relax,
a notch.
relax, relax, Edie. Relax. What's going on over there in Sicily? So, uh, she she had agreed to support Sophia's rise as the new head of the family as well. Dr. Rush visits Sophia knowing that she was behind the gas leak, but still offers his support. And that's another thing that I got completely wrong. I thought he was gonna be her end. He's in the bag. He's Harley Quinn. you know. I
Oh,
feel
hold on. I'm having some tech problems. Hold on.
okay.
Okay. What was that last sentence? Sorry,
No, no, I
I
just
started
said
freaking.
I for some reason I thought that he was going to be her downfall, Doctor Rush. All this, all knowing all the stuff that he knows about her, finding a way to like therapize her, but ultimately he's like Harley Quinn. Like he is head over heels in love with this psycho,
Yeah.
and is down for it. Was any of that unrealistic to you, or is there another shoe to drop here, or is he really just a fan?
I like how she unlocked the evil in him. I thought that was a really fun, and I guess I didn't take the homage of Harley, but I do like how he was like, your enjoyment of all this has awakened something in me, and now I just want to see you win.
Yeah,
And then so I think he becomes more important if they do continue the story, or at least that part of the story. I think he becomes more important quietly later. Also, Theo Rossi, always in a good role.
yeah, and you never could trust him. Always in a good role, never trust him,
Yeah,
regardless.
never at all.
Don't ever trust him. He could be cast as the literal iceberg in Titanic. So it works. It works. Sophia then arranges a meeting with the last remaining Falcone loyalist, declaring that she's taken over the family business. When Vidi resists, boom, she shoots him right in the head. Sophia announces that she'll use her mother's maiden name, Gigante, and offer the family's remaining henchmen a share of Carmine's money in exchange for loyalty, which they accept. She literally pours all of Carmine's money into the blood of Johnny Vidi and then lets them, as animals, take it in exchange for their loyalty. Good scene.
Mhm.
A good scene that she clearly is breaking every rule. Like
Yeah.
she doesn't like this organization. She doesn't like what her father does, but she will not be underneath the thumb of men that don't respect it. I think ultimately, and she'll say it later on, she just dug her heels in more into this business, and I don't think she meant to. She claims to want to like reform it, right? Like be the reform that it needs and make the changes, and it's the same winners and the same losers as Odd's mom says later on.
Gotham always eats.
Yeah, Gotham always wins,
Yeah.
undefeated, undefeated. Later, Sophia visits Sal at his cabin and proposes a partnership to kill Oz and take over the city. Meanwhile, Oz arrives at Victor's apartment and tries to console Francis, but she rejects him because it's cold. He thanks Victor for his help and opens up about his siblings' deaths. After finding an old trolley token, Oz convinces Victor to accompany him to an abandoned underground trolley station he used to visit. There, Oz decides to set up his mushroom operation as a new base. Love this. I love him working in the sewers like a rat, and they even say that later on. Like, yeah, he would be down here in the poop pipe doing all your stuff.
Yeah, yeah. The I like the growth because you do it immediately foreshadows how much he grows in the underworld.
Yeah,
Like, oh, he can touch every part of the city,
yeah,
and you immediately go, oh, okay, this is Oz. Like this is the Penguin.
yeah. And we were talking about before, about Batman showing up. It's quite often that Penguin is doing open arms deals in the Iceberg
Hmm.
Lounge, and Batman only shows up like when it's pertinent. I know what you're
Yeah,
doing.
yeah,
I know what you're doing, Oz. But tell me about Scarecrow. He'll
yeah.
bust up
Like,
like that gun thing to ask about something else. He lets all that shit go.
man, guns are guns.
It's like Turk in Daredevil. Like Turk's always doing some shady shit, but they don't follow
Yes,
him around to see what
yeah,
shady shit he's doing. They just know when they come up on him, he'll probably be doing some shady shit, and
yeah.
they can get some
He's got the
information out of him.
info we need.
Yes.
The information he can provide is more pertinent than him selling some guns to some gangsters.
Yeah. I think they get along, Turk and Turk and Oz.
Oh man, just imagine that distribution system.
Yeah,
It'd
right.
be amazing.
So Oz sets up shop in an underground railway using his two remaining buckets of bliss to rebuild his criminal empire. Business booms, with major gangs now involved in distribution, but Victor starts getting anxious about the risks if their operation gets discovered. Meanwhile, Sal has moved in with Sophia at her mansion, and they plan their next move against Oz. So the showrunner in this says that Sophia kind of gave Sal a new lease on life because he just lost
Mhm.
his family. Did you see a little bit of his more familial traits when talking to Sophia, making her a meal, etc. and so forth?
Yeah, you can kind of see him. Like, I mean, he goes from just being about. It feels like he's living for revenge, and then like not in like a negative way. Oh, I guess there's not really a positive way, but not in like a negative way.
Yeah.
But like, and then you see him even when he makes the meal for her, and he's like, "This is a meal pass for my wife's family to me. I was gonna teach it to my kids. He shows Sophia,
Yeah,
and
he
it's
starts
almost
to
like,
tremble. He starts that facade really starts to crumble once he starts talking about his family, knowing where they ended up.
and then you almost see like it's almost like uh, an ally, an alliance of the major mob, like of the two major mob families into one big one. Because now the Maronis are all essentially they're all dead or on the run, and the Falco, or sorry, the Gigantes
Yeah,
have now overtaken the any kind of thriving of crime syndicate-ness of the Falcons.
yeah. And ultimately, like we're led to believe, and I believe I can feel the strength of this partnership. You know, but ultimately, I feel like Sal's revenge boner kind of got in the way of a lot of this. By
Um,
wanting to handle things himself.
The only other family I can recall are the Sionuses,
Okay.
with the Black Mask as like the
Oh yeah, yeah,
three,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
then so
Roman. Yeah.
yeah, and then so I think they could potentially, if they do a season two, or if they want to keep going the mob route, any of them, Black Mask would be a really fun character if you don't do him in the fucking Harley Quinn movie.
He's also
Um,
you can keep him wholly practical.
yeah.
He doesn't need much. I loved him in Under the Red Hood. All he does is yell and scream because everything is going wrong all the time. So
Yes.
good. That movie's so good. He's so great in that movie. Um. So yeah, Sophia thinks the triads will stay loyal to her, but Sal believes they'll side with Oz because of the drugs. To send a message, Sophia's men kills Oz's distributors and publicly hang them. Dum, dum, dum. In response, Oz decides to flood the streets with free bliss, sparking a citywide distribution war.
Yeah.
They're just playing chess.
Yeah, it's genius. It really is. Like, it's the smartest move. Like, oh, you're gonna kill them? I'll give it to everybody.
Yeah,
You kill everybody, you have no power.
yeah,
Like,
100%. 100%. And he's willing to go down with that experiment.
yeah,
You know, they're like, okay, maybe you might kill everybody, but you probably won't. And that
yeah.
that two
It's
that 25%, I'll bet on that.
yeah,
You know,
yeah, capitalism, baby.
I'm telling you. Uh, in response, oh yeah, did that. Sophia and Sal break into Oz's apartment, but find no family ties or valuables, only a signed photo of Eve. Um, Frances' dementia worsens and she spends hours in a cold bathtub until Oz arrives to help her out. He asks her to help. She asks him to help her die before her condition gets too bad. What a dark
this
request.
this was the saddest scene to me. Like, because I mean, you almost agree with her.
Yeah, because
Like,
nobody. I think that everyone's had that conversation once or twice, right? Like, I don't want to be a
mhm.
vegetable. I don't want
Yeah.
to just be degrade to the point of being unrecognizable. I want to be a human. I want to have my faculties and stuff. I'm saying
You
all this, and I've just
you caught
realized.
me. Yeah, we caught it together. I just real oh, okay.
Oh, you
Uh
piece of trash! Ah, you piece of trash. We'll get there. We'll get there. Cause
we'll get
now,
there.
now I'm mad.
It
Anyway,
makes so much sense.
you piece of trash. He reluctantly agrees, but he's like, I don't know if I'll be able to do that. Furious over Crown Point's lack of power, Oz threatens Councilman Haiti into restoring it. I like his talks with Councilman Haiti.
Hmm.
You know what's so interesting, especially at the end? He comes to Haiti with a confidence and swag because Haiti has no idea that he's a roach in this food chain.
Yeah.
You know, and he'll come literally from 5 seconds ago. He almost died, and then he'll roll up on Haiti and be like, "Hey, so you got my stuff? What's going on here?" And he's like,
Yeah,
because he
let's make
just
a deal.
yeah, because he just
Like,
comes with that confidence. Like when he locks him into that parking lot or whatever, he's like, "Oh, hey,
that was baller.
yeah,"
That was
he's like,
baller as hell. Like,
"Ain't been answering my messages." I didn't
well,
forget
you don't
or
want to be friends
something.
with me?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
All of that. So good. But again, his back is against the wall. Like, you don't got nothing. You ain't got nothing. You got nothing for leverage, but nobody knows that. So you can play everyone against each other by promising everybody, whatever they want to hear. Um, I thought that was really, really good. Meanwhile, Victor is approached by a former gang member named Squid who wants to join the drug operation. Oz makes it clear Squid isn't welcome, but when Squid aggressively threatens to expose them, Vic shoots him in the neck, ending the problem. Initially, when this happens, he brings the situation to Oz, right? And Oz like,
Yeah, you mean handle it?
Handle it, yeah. Like
Yeah,
just handle it. Um, what a long death. Shoots him
it
in the
was.
neck and
Oh,
like sits with him. No running, nothing. Sits with him. Um, we've all seen this part of the movie. This had to happen. This is one of those eventualities. You just could not leave well enough alone. They kept telling you no. They kept telling you no politely, and you had to do this. I was scared he was going to do something to the mom, but he does threaten to out them. Threatens to
yeah.
out where they've been hiding. Um, but Vic handles it. Another loose thread tied up by Vic in this.
See, I thought Vic was gonna be like, "Oh, well, you can go sell drugs for us,"
Yeah.
and then let the Gigantes handle it
Oh, that makes
because they
sense.
just. And I was like, "Oh, what a smart play by Vic!" But then he just shoots him in the neck, and I'm like, "Oh God,
Yeah.
oh, what a way to go!" Because he's just gonna bleed out slowly.
And
Like,
ironically, apologizes. He's
yeah,
apologizing to him as he did it. That not something he wants to do, but now he's realized it's something that has to be done on occasion. Um, he's shaken up. He shows up to Oz, tells Oz what happened. I was like, "Yeah, good kid. Where are we going next?"
uh,
Sophia, go ahead, brother.
in that scene, he hugs him and he goes, "Oh, it gets easier." And it's this really kind of like back to that father-son role that
Yeah,
Vic is clearly searching for. Like,
yeah, but also it gets easier, right? And
yeah,
obviously, he's alluding to killing,
yeah,
right? You're not the same as us, Oz.
no,
You were
yeah, so,
killing before, way before. As we'll
yeah.
find out, this has kind of been easy for you for a while. If you could justify it in your head, this has kind of been easy for you for a while. This is two completely different situations, in my opinion.
Oh,
Um,
100%.
so yeah, I just find it interesting that yeah, that he would try to put it that way. Like like almost like I've only ever had to kill
Yeah,
for
I've
means
been
to an
killing.
end. Yeah, but I only yeah, but no, like I kill people when they get me mad. Like, that's what I do. One day you'll get
At
to that
random.
point, kid.
Yeah, you'll
Yeah,
shoot someone, you'll sleep fine that night.
yes. Sophia visits Eve at her apartment, holding her at gunpoint, but Eve isn't scared. She reveals that she actually led Sophia there to protect other women, and she won't give up any info on Oz. When Sophia presses her about Oz's involvement in the Hangman murders, Eve finally admits that Oz is hiding in Crown Point, and Sophia spares her life. This is because some of those people that were murdered were her friends.
Hmm.
So in this moment, she finds out that Oz may not have done this, but may have been covering for it, covering Falcone's tracks, and there's a little bit of a betrayal there. Um, he paid for the whole package at the end of this, cause
I do like before we go into that,
yeah,
because that's a really fun thing. She's like, "Oh, does he pay with those wigs?" And she's like, "Sometimes."
yeah,
What does he pay you to do? And she's like, "Whatever."
yeah.
Like, hey, hey, anything for the right price.
Very
And
about
like,
her stuff. They've portrayed like Selena Kyle as being that, like in the I want to say is the in the Dark Knight Returns. I'm almost certain she was. Oh no, well, year one, she's like a streetwalker, and she has
yeah,
like a gang of streetwalkers that she protects, and one of them is a young girl named Holly, and they kind of played into that with the Dark Knight Rises, where she has that little girl
yeah,
that she takes over. That girl's Juno Temple, Ted Lasso,
yes,
and
yeah,
Venom 3's own
blew my mind.
Venom 3's own Juno Temple.
Good old Venom 3. Still haven't seen it. Still don't know
Uh,
if I want to.
and I would say you still haven't seen it. It's completely on purpose.
My
Um,
choice.
what do you think of this scene though with Oz and Sophia? I feel like Eve and Sophia. I feel like Eve held her own, and whether it's misplaced or not, she does seem to have a love for Oz.
Yeah, with this, it kind of seems like Eve was like, "Oh, well, she's the hangman. Like she's going after my girls. She's after me. I'm just gonna give her." It definitely was a, "Hey, if you're gonna hurt me and be done with it." Which you can, or I appreciate any kind of character who's that loyal. Like, kill me, don't kill my people. And then to see that Eve was definitely hurt by Oz's lack of, well, in giving information about the true hangman killings.
Yeah,
And then it's almost like her, well, he's in Crown Point. Like, hey, you know what? He misled me. I'm gonna tell you where he is. You guys all, everyone, kind of has their revenge in that moment.
yeah. something that I forgot about until you brought it up now. She does surrender her life in exchange for the lives of the other women that she is trying to protect. And it's that moment that stops Sophia from killing her, because
Yes.
Sophia meets a woman that is protected, has a family, has people that cares about her and that she cares about. And Sophia says that's something she's never had.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of her actions and what she wants gets reflected to her in these last couple of episodes, which leads to her realizing that she doesn't really want any of this. You know, this is the first instance of it. Like,
Sorry, go ahead.
no, I was saying this first instance of it where, like, this person that she might look down on, right? Like
Mhm.
this streetwalker who's maybe sleeping with Oz for money. She's fine. She's happy. She has a trusting network of friends, and she's living okay. Meanwhile, uh, Sophia is the head of one of the biggest mob, you know, syndicates in Gotham, and can't find happiness because she doesn't have trust. She doesn't have love. She doesn't have support. She doesn't have a network of friends that she could just turn to. So in this moment, it starts off with Sophia pitying Eve. Look at this streetwalker that Oz tricked into keeping his alibi. And I think this ends with Sophia pitying herself. Wow, even she has friends. Even she,
Yeah.
even she
Yeah.
has a family. She made it. It's not blood, but even she has a family. And I'm out here doing what?
Yeah. Just all that. So at this point, has she been to the hospital again yet, so to speak?
Sophia or
Yes.
no,
I
no,
don't.
no.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that's what I'm
So
saying. I feel like this is the first bit of like, maybe I don't want this life, and I feel like
yeah.
the second bit is when she finds out about the niece.
Yeah.
Um, so to finish this episode up, Oz then organizes a meeting with all the city's gang leaders, calling it the Gold Summit. He pitches a united front against the Gigantes, Maronis, and the city's elite. I'm smiling from ear to ear because he literally got them all on his side with a beer salute,
Yeah.
a beer toast. Hearing those cans crack and seeing his smile made me smile. I was like, "How did you do it? I don't know how you did it, but you really get you get it. They don't respect none of us. We're all just a bunch of we gotta see our name in lights. They don't even know your name."
Yeah. This was one of my top five scenes. Just because it was very much Oz being what I felt was the most version of Oz that we're gonna get. Like this is him being truly himself, where
Yeah,
he's clearly hungry for more. He's clearly going, "Hey, we if we get together, we're all gonna die apart."
yeah,
And it was definitely that. Like, and then he just sits down and just opens a beer and like they've had however many years of killing each other and fighting and whatever, and a beer a beer apiece with them and their leader or them and their number two is what solves the entire city.
yeah.
Like,
A solidarity. Beer and solidarity was a really cool moment here. And again, like I think also Vic kind of when he finds out about this, like this means a lot. Like Oz gets things done.
mhm.
Again, like may not be the best means, but they do. Um, with full control of Gotham, the gangs could crush the wealthy. And yeah, Oz convinces Zhao because he's like, yeah, I killed Alberto, by the way. So like, meanwhile, in Crown Point, the power is restored, which worries Francis. She and Victor share a quiet moment dancing. They remain oblivious to Sophia sneaking into their apartment with a crowbar. So, craziest part about this is Sophia sneaks into the apartment, and this just happens to be the most lucid moment of Francis's life as she goes,
Yes.
my son Oswald did this for me. My son
Okay.
Oswald Cobb, the penguin. He screwed those dirty falcons. And I'm like, oh, none of this is good.
Yeah, I mean the writing. Okay, maybe it wasn't perfect, but it
No,
was
but I think
really
it was
good.
funny. I think it was on purpose.
Oh
Like
yeah,
I don't think
yeah.
any of this was a mistake, but I just found like, wow. Like she's like, I'm so proud of my son for tackling all those falcons, those idiots.
Yeah. Well, here we go.
Uh, so we now get to the Oz. In a flashback, A young Oz lives with his mother Frances and his brothers Jack and Benny, and yet somehow resents the affection his siblings receive from Frances. I was a middle child for a while. I get it. I never got it to this point. Not here, bro. Not here.
uh,
I don't. While walking the streets, the three brothers run into the notorious criminal Rex Calabrese, who gives them $50. Jack leads his siblings to an abandoned underground railway where the kids play a game of flashlight tag. Jack and Benny hide in an overflow tunnel, which they enter via a ladder that is difficult for the disabled Oz to access. So he gets mad, blames them, like, you doing this for a trick so you can laugh at me because I can't go down there. He locks them in the tunnel before leaving for his house. While he and Francis watch Top Hat, Jack and Benny call for help to no avail as they drown in the tunnel during a rainstorm. Talk to me, bro. How do you feel
th-
about this whole thing?
this was I think was like the epitome of an impromptu impulse, like, oh, you're gonna slight me in any which way. I'm gonna let you die.
Yeah,
And then I as I'm watching it, and I remember thinking like, well, there's no way he lets him die, right? Like
yeah,
he's eventually gonna tell his mom.
right.
And then as you watch, you kind of keep flashing to like they're watching Top Hat, and then it flashes to the thing, and you hear like you can hear the water getting like louder, and they're begging, and then you can hear them kind of they're being a little more exasperated, and it flashes to Top Hat, then it flashes them, and it flashes to the door, and it's just water, and it's like, oh, what a dark moment, and that's where I was like, oh, he sucks. Oh,
Yeah,
he's the worst.
yeah.
Like
We
he's
also
always been the worst.
we also have to say
Like
when he came home, he lied. He
yeah,
came
oh,
home and he
good.
said that the
They went to
kids
the
went
movies.
somewhere. Yeah, they went to the movies. I didn't want to. I wanted to come home with you, mom. That's what
Yeah,
you
because
know.
they had a
They
night date.
yeah. And but
Well,
the
you
thing
also
is,
see.
go ahead.
Go ahead. Oh no, you see it before they leave. He's like, "Oh, mom, can we have a date?" And she's like, "No."
Go out with your
But
friend.
then
Yeah,
like,
he
yeah, go.
basically gets her big brother, his big brother, to get them both out the house.
But then her brother comes and she's like, "Oh, suddenly she's mom of the year,"
Yeah,
and it's just like, oh. And then you have them slight her, and it's
yeah.
like, all right, well, she's
I
like,
I I feel like in my mind, the way that it went was like, oh, he did this petty thing and closing the door. My mind was like, yeah, but he doesn't know that they're gonna drown. But I think the Top Hat scene, he looks at the rain and realizes the rain is coming and has a moment there where he could
yeah,
say, you know what, mom, I lied.
hey, go get
They
them.
are, yeah. Because I thought it was gonna be that I thought it was gonna be like he locks them in because he's angry. It starts to rain. He eventually confesses, but it's too late. He didn't think it was
Yeah.
gonna kill them, but it's too late. It's worse than that. He didn't care if it killed them or not.
Mhm.
He got time with his mom, with his ma. I
Mhm.
got time with my ma. Um, the like, this is the last time we see his mom happy. This is the last time we'll see her smile. Is sitting here, and I was wrong on one prediction. I was watching Top Hat, and there's a moment in Top Hat where the lead guy shoots everybody with his cane, and I'm
Yeah.
like, yo, he's gonna do that. He's gonna do like a uh MacGyver. There's gonna be an umbrella left somewhere in like the basement of Sophia's apartment, and she's gonna walk out. Like, what are you gonna do with an umbrella? Pop! It's gonna be all over. Still got room for that, Matt Reeves. You write that down. He still got some room for that
Yeah.
in the
We
future
know you
of the
listen.
Batman. Yeah, come on, man.
Yeah.
In present day, Oz arrives at Crown Point, discovering Victor unconscious and Francis gone. I thought he was gonna flip out on Vic, but he doesn't. I'm so glad that he did.
I did too. Well, because they make it in with the funeral with Alberto, he's like, no, you always find a way to, even you do it, you succeed no matter what. It's your only time you're gonna get to fail. And then he failed, and he was like, no, no, it's okay. It's my mom.
Yeah, yeah. Um, and gets him to. It's crazy because I mean, you've ever been woken up in like a weird kind of disoriented situation. He's like pushing him out of like a story window.
Yeah,
He's like
like
bleeding from his head. He's like, "No, go, bro, go out there, tell the gangs or whatever." And he's like, "Yeah, I got you, Oz." Like, hold on a second. Got to give me a second here. Um, so I thought that was funny. Blah, 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 blah. When Salah Oh, sorry. Upon waking, Victor informs Oz that Sophia took Francis. When Sal arrives with his henchmen, Oz forces Victor to flee. But he knows he's dead to rights. He's like, I'm just gonna
Yeah,
again get taken, again be captured, again be thrown on my knees, again have a gun in my face.
over and over again.
Uh, Sal brutally assaults Oz. Beats the hell out of him.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah. With a golf club.
yeah. But takes him alive so he can face Sophia as well. Sophia has taken Frances to her mansion. Frances is not even the slightest bit frightened of her, telling her that Oz will kill her. But then she ends up slipping into another dementia episode. So Sophia asks Rush to help her figure out what's going on with the dementia episode. But Rush also tells Sophia that the police are looking into Gia at the orphanage, as she says that she saw something. She was the only witness in the Falcone's death. Absolute dynamite scene between Sophia and Francis, right?
This was my favorite Francis scene.
Yeah,
Because you could tell it was the ultimate like, oh no, my son's a mobster, like he's gonna kill, like what are you gonna do? You're not gonna hurt me, because then you have to deal with him.
yeah,
And like it was such a powerful scene that you see how much Francis really, I wouldn't say respects, but almost like where she trusts Oz to accomplish his goal. And
yeah,
I thought this was probably the best scene, for at least for her. Um, but then you have the immediate dementia scene, which made it like, oh, such a powerful scene and such a sad scene back to back.
yeah. Um, where is it? He knows the game better than you. You changed your name. So what? Okay, you think everything's different now? That don't change the game, sweetheart. Drug is drug. Crack, bliss, dope, drops. It's all the same shit. Same winners, same losers. So you call yourself whatever the hell you want. But when my Oswald puts a bullet in that pretty little skull of yours, I'll be dancing on your grave like Ginger fucking Rogers.
Yeah, great line. Like,
Balls of steel. Balls of absolute steel. Um, and maybe it's because she's caught between a rock and a hard place in the sense that like she hates Oz, so she'll either die here or end up back with Oz.
yeah.
So so it's like, what are you gonna like? What are you gonna? But the venom he spits out,
Hmm.
the vitriol she has when she says these things, just comes from a woman who's lived a life, who's literally seen it all in Gotham, and is not impressed at all. At one point, did she say like the apartment's not as nice as it should be, or something
Yeah.
like
Oh,
that?
I thought this would be nicer.
Like
But yeah.
microaggressions, right? Like like take
Yeah.
just like I said, cutting her feet out from underneath her. Like you think you're gonna
Oh,
impress me with this house? This house is kind of shit. And you think
oh,
you
this
got a
is
nice,
mob money? Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. You changed
I,
your name and your haircut. Okay, pretty cool, I guess. Like it's the same stuff. Um, so yeah, I like that, and I Sophia is rocked by this.
mhm.
Everything Francis is saying is true. She didn't mean to get into this. She didn't want to get into this. Talking about drops and sending shipments and trade and quick work. She wasn't trying to do any of this shit. She just ended up in it. Oh, she just wanted to see Alberto. She wanted to come
Mhm.
home to her brother. You know. But Sal forces Oz to take him to the base of operations, declaring that the Bliss business now belongs to him. Oz provokes Sal towards violence, seizing the opportunity for his men to turn off the lights and commence a shootout. I was not betting on his men being this loyal. He told them a hell of a speech at that gold summit, bro.
Well, I did, only
Yeah.
because like he says it, when they're building it up. He just says, if you give them the money, they know who to go to bat for. And he says it a couple times.
Okay.
I'm paying all these people all this money, so they know who they want to keep safe. And then you have the one guy who keeps looking at the thing.
Yeah,
You can
yeah.
tell he's just waiting for
That's
it.
when I was like,
Look,
oh, we about to
yeah.
jump this dude? I was like, nah. I was like, there's no way Oz got it like that. And then Oz sees it and instantly starts to instigate. Yeah,
Hmm.
I'll never forget the smell of burning flesh and burning hair.
Oh
It's
yeah,
the hair, that it really gets in your nostrils and you never forget a smell. I'm like, come
yeah,
on, bro, what are you doing?
yeah. No, he's starting to fire.
Again on his knees, again dead to rights, again sneaks out like a rat. Um, so oh yeah, Oz gains the upper hand during a brawl with Sal. and Sal just dies of a heart attack. Very dang, what's that word? Underwhelming.
Yeah, like,
Very
and then he
underwhelming.
talks shit to him. You thought you beat me? I like,
Yeah, Oz is disappointed at not being able to personally kill his rival, and then, like I said, he talks about this goes back to this needing to be a win. It's not good enough that it
Mhm.
happened. It
Yeah,
happened. You just solved your biggest issue. One of your biggest issues. You
yeah,
solved half of your biggest issues.
yeah,
But that's not enough for him. He needs to win the moment.
yeah.
It can't
I
just
want you
happen.
to know I won. Like, I didn't win. I'm telling you, and as you're dying,
Right.
as you're breathing your last breath, you know I win.
I partially thought he put the other bullets in him as proof. So he could say he
That
killed
makes
him.
sense.
He could say
That
he
yeah,
killed
I
him.
just
Part of it is just because he's petty, right? Yeah, I don't like
I thought he was being
you.
petty. Like,
Yeah,
oh yeah,
I don't like you. Here's a couple more. But part of me felt like because I thought he was gonna be like, "Hey, guess who just shot
mm.
Salvatore Maroni?" And yeah, like he literally does he like flop him out of the bus? Does he like throw the body
Yeah,
out
he
of the?
throws it. I I will say one thing they did in the show, and they do a lot in this episode and the next episode, where you see Oz is strong.
Yeah,
He's not just some fat guy with a limp. Like, he's legit like a powerhouse.
and he can
You
street
know,
fight.
yeah,
He was fighting Sal.
never taking blows.
Yeah,
Like, it wasn't. I mean, it probably helps that he's a little heavier,
yeah,
but
he
like,
is.
but like, yeah,
That
I
club
would say
foot.
that. Yeah. I will say that's one of my favorite parts is like, because typically I always think of Cobblepot as kind of a fat guy who's just like, who he doesn't really have any power other than money.
Yeah,
And like, this shows he's like a dude. He'll get his knuckles dusted.
yeah.
And like, and I can appreciate that.
To
Like,
me, it just all goes back to the rat metaphor, right? Cornering a rat.
yeah,
Yeah, so
yeah,
like
that's
he's
fair.
gonna find his way out of it. He'll gain the power, sight beyond sight. He'll gain the power of of Grayskull and to take two people down.
The power of Grayskull.
Yes, man. So yep, Maroni's dead. Sophia visits Gia at the orphanage where Gia reveals she found a gas mask in her purse, wondering if Sophia killed her family. Sophia claims her innocence, only to discover that Gia has been harming herself during her stay. Sophia tells Gia that her family were bad people who deserve to die, and that she deserves better than the Falcones as family. We'll put a pause in there. Um, sad, so sad.
No, yeah,
But one of the things that they said in the behind the scenes was that they basically just remodeled their Arkham set to be this, so that you and Sophia both feel the similarities.
yeah. Feels like it's the exact same place. Yeah,
Yes, and how could she start another cycle and
yeah.
put
She
put
made
a
another her.
Falcone, yeah, put another Falcone in there, and the way that she stays there is by reaffirming that she's crazy. There was no gas mask in the bag. She's crazy, which is exactly what they did to Sophia. You know what I'm saying? Like,
And then, and also, instead of being alone and stuck there, she's alone because her family's dead. It's a different kind of alone.
yeah,
And but yeah,
she
like
didn't have an
she,
option in this,
yeah,
and then on top of that, the self harm, which
hmm,
is heartbreaking in and of itself, but induced quite literally by you. You know, what is this? What do you win at the end of this war if you're just repeating the same cycles as your father? If you're still
yeah.
putting innocent women in insane asylums and causing the death of an untold amount of men, very strange. Uh, so Oz calls Sophia to inform her of Sal's death. I love all these phone calls where they, hey, he's dead. Got him. Uh, So he offers her the Maroni criminal empire as well as his Bliss operation in exchange for Francis's safe return. Sophia returns to the mansion and admits to Rush that she has become disillusioned about her position after seeing the pain she has caused Gia. So she has accepted Oz's deal. He's like, "Yo, it's a trap." She's like, "Yeah, well, it is what it is." He convinces her to follow through on her desire to see Oz suffer. Sophia sends a van inside Oz's base of operations, calling him from another part of the city to tell him that she sent him a gift. Oz, thinking Francis was in the car, instead discovers explosives and hides in the tunnel while the bombs detonate, destroying the base and killing his entire crew. Um, I like the acting here from Oz seeing like the
Hmm.
furry robe or whatever and thinking that his mother was in there, like kind of like trying to brace himself for it.
Yeah.
Um, um, were you surprised at all that he didn't yell bomb or yell everybody get out or get everybody
Um,
dive?
kinda. Yeah. I mean, I guess they're loyal to him. He's not loyal to them.
I
Um,
guess that's true too.
I did think that it was really poetic that he seeked refuge in the same place his brothers died.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, I also was like, oh no, it's definitely his mom. His mom's dead body. She sent in a message. Um,
yeah.
and then it was a bomb. I'm like, oh, that's probably worse though. I'm like, and then I also one of my favorite Sophia growth opportunities is where like at the end she's like, I'm gonna give it all up. I just want him to go with me. I
Yeah,
want us both to suffer together.
yeah.
Like I don't care about the war. I don't care about his mom, the drugs, the money, nothing. I just want him to suffer because he's who started all of this. He
Yeah.
put me in jail, or he put me in there. He had my brother killed. Single-handed did all this stuff to ruin us.
I
I
mean,
want to break him too.
even if you want to get to the points of the Batman, he's the one that tells them that the Rata Alada thing was wrong the way they were thinking about it, which ultimately puts them on Carmine on their
Mm-hmm.
radar. Gets him killed. So like he's been a part of a lot of her suffering. And
Yeah.
she just wants to see him suffer the same way. Yeah, so the whole base gets destroyed. It's a beautiful special effect or visual effect when you watch the entire thing cave in.
Yeah.
And just so many dead bodies, but Oz is able to survive like a rat. He crawls himself out of all this debris, or like a roach during an atomic bomb. And yeah, he kind of like falls into the debris, and then we get another flashback. It's young Oz and Francis going to a jazz club where Francis asks Oz to become successful enough to finally provide her a happy life, which Oz promises. It felt kind of sick when I was watching it
Mm-hmm.
initially. Just how much she was leaning on him in this moment for her support. We'll realize later on that that wasn't 100% the case.
It's bigger.
Yeah, it's bigger than
Like,
that.
which,
But in the moment, I'm like, I don't like how any of it. Like, it's a tragedy in and of itself that the kids are dead. In my mind, this is what I'm thinking. The tragedy in and of itself that the brothers are dead. Now she's going to give all her love to Oz, thinking that she failed them. So she's going to triple love him, um, and also lean on him as an emotional support, which isn't gonna help anything. And he's obviously not ready for it. Um, it's so interesting once you get more context as to how she really feels and what she really knows as to what all that whole dinner was. Um, but yeah, I think we're ready for that part there.
um,
But
well, isn't there a point in the first few episodes where he talks about like his brothers died or whatever, and
mhm,
then one day his mom took him to this jazz club, and it was
yeah,
like the best. It was like the highlight of his life,
yeah, yeah,
and then like the whole show was based around this one scene, which is very different from so many different angles.
totally.
Which I thought was again kind of back to how good the writing was, but yeah, that's
Initially, it looks sad because it looks like she's just trying to use him as one vessel to fix her entire life.
mhm.
But it's even sadder once you get into the full context.
Yeah.
Back in present day, Oz recovers from the explosion and resurfaces, only to be knocked out by the detective that Sophia bribed to kidnap Irvad. Still putting drops in his eyes. I love how he gets got later on. Exactly how he should, putting drops in his
Hmm.
eyes. uh,
Poetic.
we're coming up to the end here, but Dr. Rush helps Frances recall her past through therapy. In a flashback, we see her and Rex talk about her son's death, and she basically admits that she knew Oz locked Jack and Benny in the tunnel, causing their deaths. So Rex is like, you could use his love to your advantage. I got a bunch of kids without families working for me. People without families breed loyalty. You just gotta pump in a bunch of like positive reinforcement and get him to do whatever you want him to do. And she's like, man, I'm not really down for that. And she says like the devil's in my house. And I was like, that's some deep to say about your kid. But then again, I never had one of these the good sons where he's trying to actively
and
murder.
and hopefully I avoid it. All right.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Um, the ice cold nature of the scene where he goes, well, then maybe he needs to go away. And then
Mm-hmm.
like she cries, like you think that her tears are like, how could you even suggest? And then she looks up and she's like, you think you can help me with something like that? And I'm like, whoa! I got goosebumps right now thinking about it
Yeah,
because I'm
no,
like, you have to be sure in that moment to say that, to make that decision. I could never be in those shoes. I hopefully will never have to be in those shoes. But holy hell!
yeah.
As a parent, how did this scene read to you?
This was a hard scene. Just kind of you said, like, if you go the route of, well, we'll make him disappear. That's a one. You got one shot at that, and then there's no takebacks. Whereas the other way, you could kind of maybe you could kind of mold them in your own way. It was such a good. Francis is such an intriguing character, especially when you see a lot of that comes from the dementia. So we're getting a lot of that. I do love how they as she's going through the club,
Yeah,
how you go and you see Julian sitting there and he's like,
and the
stay
therapy
in the moment,
and the therapy
stay
lights
in,
and stuff. Yeah, like
yeah,
he's
and he's
he
like,
keeps
stay in the moment,
keeps grounding her back in this memory, which
yeah.
is really really cool. I mean, they literally took her to the place to kind of help foster this
Hmm.
memory dump. Um, she later takes Oz to the Monroe. It like flashes from her asking that question to her, then putting on the lipstick, and we remember that he had approached her, and then that's when she invites him. So we're all led to believe that all this is like a hit. That's about to occur here with this kid, putting you in the hot seat, All Star. This death would have caused stopped a lot of other deaths. Is where do you stand on her inability to pull the trigger metaphorically and figuratively in this moment?
I'm going to refer to another movie franchise, Deadpool 2,
Okay.
when he's holding the baby Hitler and he's got the gun. He's like,
Yes, yes. Yeah.
like this is such a hard, like he's so baby, but like
Yeah.
I, 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 I don't know if there's a right or wrong answer.
Right.
Oh, I mean, there's a wrong answer, but like, I
Yes,
don't know
yes,
if
yes.
there's a right ansser. Like, I don't.
It's
I
not easy. It's
think,
not. There's no easy answer.
yeah. Well, I also think trusting a mob guy to hit a 10-year-old or 12-year-old or whatever is hard. I mean, do we know how old he is at that point?
I would say
Um,
10. I wouldn't be surprised if it was.
but only because we know that guy drops dead when he's 14 of a heart attack,
Yeah.
still holding a cigar.
Yeah.
And then so I would think that at some point, um, Oz has come to have a spot in that guy's group of family of kids that he uses
And
eventually.
you wouldn't be surprised if Rex did that as a favor. Like, okay, if I'm not
Mm,
gonna kill him, then I guess I'll use him. And if
yeah,
maybe one day he just won't come back, and then all the problems will be solved. You get me, like
yeah.
on a hit or whatever.
Yeah, it's a win. But
Yeah.
I thought the speech that Oz gives his mom is like the epitome of knowing who your audience is and what to say and how to do it. Because almost like the speech that he gives her, no, I'm never gonna let you suffer. I'm whatever, is what brings it all back to where she's like, oh, I can depend on.
There was a little bit in the initial when they're sitting down and he's trying to promise her the world. There's a little disgust in her eyes.
Yeah, a
There's a
lot.
little like what like you, and then he's still pretending that he doesn't know what happened with the boys and that he's as sad as she is about their deaths, and you can tell she just wants to let it all out and kind of just you know she does later on, but God, you got to believe that this was stirring in her stomach, in the pit of
Hmm.
her stomach, in the pit of her soul, her heart, for decades, decades. Um, but yeah, she later takes Austin Monroe's, and he promises to take care of her if she supports him. In present day, Victor finds their base destroyed and tries to convince the gang leaders to fight back. In this moment, he doesn't stutter at all.
Hmm.
In this speech to the mobsters, he doesn't stutter one bit. But that dude, punches him in the gut, but it ultimately
Sigh.
saves his life, right?
Yeah, know your place.
And he's like, just chill
Like,
out. Let's chill the hell out. He's saying a lot of crazy shit right now. And they're all like, we're here for the bliss, not the penguin. So he's done. If he's in that, he's like, we need to go down there and find him. Like, nah, we're good. We got
no.
see these shoes. um, so Um, Oz is captured and brought to Monroe's, where Sophia reveals that Francis knew about Oz's involvement in his brother's deaths. Sophia forces Oz to confess under threat of cutting off the finger of his mother, and he still refuses, still denies it. How did you feel about that?
Oh man, he was going down with the ship.
Yeah,
Like, yeah, it's almost like he never wants his mom to think less of him. Though we find out that she knows about it all. He
yeah.
never wants to say it out loud because he doesn't want it to hurt
But I guess here's the dichotomy that I wrestle with.
her.
In not to, he cares more about how he looks to her than her physical well-being. That's
Probably.
that's jacked up, ain't it?
Yeah, no, there's a level of like her perception of me is more important than her own health or
Her
everyone's
finger. Like she'll
perception of
lose her
him.
finger in this
Yeah.
moment, but she'll never think I killed them kids because I told her I didn't. Yeah, never once said I did.
And they were using his cigar cutter. That
Yeah,
was
right. And I think
that was
I
fun.
think they were gonna cut off his finger too in the first episode. I think when he's restrained in the chair,
I
in the lawn
believe
chair.
so.
A lot of there's a lot of that. And he cut Alberto's finger off.
Hmm.
That's how the whole because she's like, yeah, what finger did you cut off of Alberto's? I cut that one off your mom's. Um, yeah, he denies it, and I love that she's like, you like really like still now. It's still like I know you did it. She knows you did it. You all you have to do is say it, and you still won't. And in my head, I'm like, this really is solidifying how much of a trash character this guy is.
Hmm.
We're not even there yet, but yeah. Um, so Sophia releases Francis. But in a fit of rage, she stabs Oz. That was kind of metal. Like she just literally
Yeah.
broke a bottle and stabbed him. Um, and that's what she says. Like, I hate you. You are the devil. Like you are the devil. How do you feel about this sort of like avalanche of confessions coming from Francis? And
This was almost the part where I kind of like I say it with a grain of salt, but I almost felt bad for Oz.
yeah,
But then it's like, but again, he's asked for all of this. Nothing he's done is redeemable.
yeah,
Like he's not done everything is for himself. Everything is selfish. But again, it was almost like like the one person he's trying to do this all for, the one person he's promised the lights and the jewelry and mob money and penthouses is the one person who hates him the most now.
yeah.
And so I thought that was
Openly hates him the most. Right?
yeah, like directly hates him.
Wouldn't
Like
have stabbed him in front of his enemy.
yeah, and then Oz's commitment to Ma, what'd they do to you? Like it's still
Don't
it's
you
still
hurt
everyone's fault. It's still
her?
everyone's fault but his.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Don't you hurt her? Like, yeah, we won't. Tell us the truth. Well, I ain't do it. So it's like,
Mhm.
what are we doing here? But again, she does this. She stabs him. Oz is again dead to rights. She has another like fugue state, sees her two sons, passes out, basically has a stroke. He hulks out. He literally rips through his restraints, grabs a gun, gets all of Sophia's men, and escapes again. And I'm like, he did it again. He did it
Yeah.
again. Dead to rights. This rat escaped again. This time he escaped with his mom. So Sophia meets with the other Gotham gang leaders, offering her empire to the one that captures Oz. Oz recovering from his injuries. Oh no, even before that, Oz is seen recovering from his injuries, and he bumps into Vic, and Vic tells him like, "Oh, the other gangs, they're not down with this or whatever." He's like, "It's alright, kid. It's all over. Like they've already won." And Vic's like, "Nah, screw that, bro. Like that's
Hmm.
not you. You need to get up. Like stop complaining. Like what's next? What are we gonna do? Whatever." And he kind of gives Oz a pep talk. In hindsight, it's an incredibly
It's
tragic
the
pep talk.
it's the talk Oz always gave or Oz kept saying to him. He
Yeah,
gave it back
yeah,
as Oz is stapling his stomach shut,
right.
and then super
Hey, can
grinning.
you pass me that gauze over there?
Yeah, baller as hell.
Yeah. Um, I love, I love because he knows he's gonna go talk to Haiti later on. He's like, "How do I look?" And he's like all disheveled, literally the slimiest of the slime. And Vic's like, I don't know,
All
like,
right.
kind of all right. He's like, oh, it's so funny. Um, so the gang leaders. So Oz goes and confronts Councilman Haiti, blaming the Maronis for the chaos and offering him peace in exchange for the position in city government. This is another moment where Oz sells somebody a bill of goods, but it's a good bill of goods.
Mhm.
Like, you need a story, you need a bad guy, I got them all for you. I just want to meet your friends when you got a
Mm-hmm.
chance. You
Oh,
know,
he's so slimy. He's the worst.
bro. I almost had this inkling, but then I was like, nah, it'd be too close to Daredevil. I thought he was gonna be like the mayor of Crown Point or whatever.
Oh, that'd be funny.
You know
Like,
that? I thought because I mean I got the lights on. You know that I cut the lights on. I gave people jobs here, all that stuff. But he basically is willing to give all that credit to Councilman Haiti, so long as he's able to fix his little Sophia problem,
yeah,
and they basically agree.
yeah, yeah. I'll scratch your back, and you'll look amazing. You're gonna get
Right,
elected.
yeah,
And I just get to meet some of your friends.
that's it.
That's all.
That's all.
Yeah.
Uh, a- um, Another interesting thing is that they make it a point to visually have you not disgusted, but feel like something's wrong. That Oz is like in this hollowed place of like law and order and just like messing around with shit.
It's
You
a
get it?
court.
That's the thing. Like it's he looks wrong there. He
Yes,
looks
it was.
misplaced there, and as he should. Law and order, right and wrong to him is all superfluous,
Yeah.
especially in this moment where he's possibly still bleeding from the side. you know, but like I said, he's never down enough where he can't give a compelling speech or he can't talk his way out of stuff. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? He
Into
can
the
have both his
lion's
arms
den.
cut off and be like, "Come on, Vic, help me up." you know what I'm saying? I'll run there. Like he's not. He's about it. Um, but before he can leave, Zhao's gang ambushes him. Basically, puts him in the car. Sophia burns her belongings and heads to the airport. This seemed like a very liberating moment for her.
Hmm.
Um, I think in this moment, it's proof that she doesn't really care what happens next. Either way, he hopes to
Yeah.
kill Oz, but I think there's a little bit of her that's like, if I die in this instance, it is what it is.
Well, I also thought it was her fucking over the triads. Like, oh,
Oh,
you can have this place, and she sets half of it on
yeah, yeah,
fire,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
like
That's
walking
true.
out the door.
That's true.
But yeah, your way kind of sounds right too, though. Like where she's like, yeah, this is I'm done. Like I'm walking away. I'm gonna get rid of every bit of evidence I was ever here. It's all gone.
Yeah.
We're gonna go to Hangar
Some way,
5.
some way tonight, all this ends.
Mm-hmm.
Some way. And I'm gonna talk about a moment here that I took a picture of. That I'm gonna post maybe tomorrow. I'm waiting a little bit. I'm trying not to blow my entire load on social media with this show because I know
I
people are
get
still
it.
catching up. Um, but yeah, she meets Zhao's gang. They show up with Oz. It's another situation where she's talking smoke to Oz, and Oz starts to smile, and you go, "What's about to boom, boom, boom?" Link betrays Zhao, killing him, kills his men, frees Oz, and Oz is like, "All right, now get in the car." And I'm like, we did it again. It's twice in one episode.
Yeah. This was I thought this wasn't a climactic scene because I'm like, oh well, I know he's free. Like
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I know he's gonna get her.
yeah.
But when Link betrays Zao, I was like,
Which
oh,
makes a
he
lot of
got
sense
him.
because Zhao was seeming like the old head that was stomping
Yeah.
on Link and not allowing him to make progressive changes for the gang, like
Mhm.
modern changes. They were still back in their old, old mindset when it came to stuff. And I wouldn't, one could argue that that relationship is fostered by Vic. That if
Mhm.
Vic doesn't foster that and Vic doesn't kind of put Link on to what they're trying to do, and the fact that Zhao might be getting in the way of that, it never happens. So like,
Mhm.
he quite honestly owes this escape plan to Vic in many, many, many ways. So he'll thank him later. He forces Sophia into his car and mocks her at the docks before preparing to kill her. And she mocks him too. She's like, "Oh, did your mom tell you she loved you or whatever?"
Oh.
But the best moment of this scene comes when he tells her to go walk ahead, and like he's about to shoot her. And she closes her eyes, and there's a zoom in on her face. She exhales, and without saying a word, it's expressed through the magic of cinema. You know what? This sucks, but I'm free. He'll pull that trigger, and
Yep,
all
it's
of
all
this
over.
is gone. Whatever this was, however this was, whoever I am, whatever I had to play in all of this, he pulls that trigger and it's gone. I didn't want it to end this way, but I wanted an end. Julian asked, "What is this all for? What do you want?" She goes, "I want to be free." She closes her eyes, she exhales, about to be free, and then the lights come on, and it's the cops. Not only is she not given a sweet death and a sweet release from her life in this, she's going right back to the hell that made her. She's dragging, kicking, and screaming right back to the place. What a talk about this scene. I'm kind of out of
No, yeah.
words.
So this scene to me was the all the digs, all the she's getting him at her, he's getting he's driving her again. So you have that old the return to form from 10 years before, and then you get to see her like you said, like okay, it's done. Pull the trigger and the nightmare goes away. I'm free, and then next thing she knows, she's going back to jail. This was the first time we've seen in the entire series that I recall someone slight Oz and not get got for it.
Yeah,
He did better. He got you, but in a way worse way because now you're just going right back to the hellhole. You're
yeah,
going right back to the torture.
yeah. And you could
And
pin all the deaths of the Maronis being set on fire and all that stuff
mm-hmm,
right back onto her.
yeah,
Um,
it was such. It was the most I would say thinking far ahead and then taking advantage of the situation that Oz has done, and not again just not going done game over I'm free. This was oh I'm gonna go away scot free, and now everybody hates you. The city knows who
this
you
is even
are.
more of a long con. This is like the least impulsive thing that he's done. He thought about this and thought about a way that everyone wins in a way. Councilman Haiti, the cops got their hangman. She goes away. He don't got to worry about her. The Maronis are already gone. Um, the way you said it though, I like how you said it. Like this is the one person that slighted him that he let get away. Putting on your thinking cap or looking into the future. Do you think it's something he's gonna end up regretting?
I don't not not within a movie and another season. Like maybe if he's the bad guy of three, or if they do a couple seasons of it, maybe. Um, I'll go further into that once we kind of get closer to the end. 'Cause
Okay.
I do have some thought processes from there, but I don't think so. I think it was like like I got her in the best way, and now I can't. I'm free, and now I can control all of it
Yeah.
because.
All I gotta do is go back to my mom. Let her know
Mhm.
what's going on. And so he goes back to the hospital, but he's devastated to learn that she had a stroke and is now in a vegetative. He pleads for her to say she's proud of him. She remains unresponsive. Heartbreaking scene, kind of even pitiful. This might be the word when he starts like ready to be like, just say you're proud of me. Just say you're proud of me. I'm like, dang, bro, like you are really. I think he would have been fine if she would have woke up, said that, and died.
I think came to find out she was dead. I think the
Yeah,
fact that
yeah, you're
the fact
right. The in
the
between.
fact yeah the fact that
This is the sorry, this is the
the
Maroni thing again,
promise.
right? This is the Maroni thing again. Like you're robbing me of of this
Yeah.
victory.
Well, I think it all goes back to the promise she gave him. Hey, promise me if I'm ever like that, you'll let me die, you'll kill me.
That's so jacked, bro. So jacked
And
up. She trusted him with that. He said he would.
yeah,
But the truth
mm-hmm,
is, her validation means more to him than her life.
mm-hmm.
As we'll find out later on. Um, Oz later thanks Victor for helping him. They're sitting at a park bench and they're talking about all this stuff, and he basically confesses that Oz is a bit like family to him now, and he's like, yeah, it's just me and you. Um, but then he says he can't have that. Family is heart is weakness. So he begins strangling him. Victor tries to fight back, but he ultimately dies. Oz robs him, throws his ID into the river, and walks away. How do you feel about this scene?
Oh, this was heartbreaking. This was as soon as they sat down and said your family, I'm like, no, don't tell him that because you just saw what happened to his family.
Yeah.
Like
That was the
everyone
only
that
last
he
bit of family, yeah.
yeah, like literally that was 20 minutes ago. She's still in the hospital right behind you guys. You guys are just sitting out in front of it, and then yeah, you're just watching him beg for his life while choking was the one of the, like it was this was the scene where I'm like, oh god, Oz is just a piece of shit. Like he's the worst. And I hope he gets everything he deserves. Like I really do.
My dumbass was like half watching. I'm like, oh, they'll just do some pleasantries, you know.
hmm
Then I start hearing some choking, and I go, are you now? Now we got like 10 minutes left in the episode. He's the only one who gives a damn about you. Now we're gonna do this. You piece of garbage. Um, so commenting on Victor's death, the showrunner LaFranc explained that it never had to do with Victor doing anything wrong, but Oz in that moment really chose to kill his own heart and embrace the monster that he is. Colin
hmm
Farrell explained that the scene should have a feeling where there was a sense of creative responsibility that leaned towards we cannot have this man as a likable character.
Yeah, for sure.
Farrell also
And,
expressed, fucking hated it. I hated that scene. I really did. I was so fucking pissed off. And he says it felt in performing it as guess what you would like to feel in viewing it. It felt gross. It felt cruel. It felt absolutely insane, and it felt like Oz was reaching a point of no return. He doesn't even know that he doesn't want to be human. He's basically saying that in that moment, I don't want to be. The actor who plays Vic was informed since the beginning of his character's fate, deeming it an emotional thing that you can give to the audience. It was that shock factor. Wow, oh my goodness. Keep people excited, you keep people on their toes. Nobody is safe. Exciting too. This was this was thought out. It did feel a bit out of left field, but not really. Not really.
yeah, I mean, it seemed on brand.
It's another impulsive swing.
hmm
It's another him doing what he thinks he needs to in that moment to continue to be the kind of person that he is. But it did make me absolutely sick to my stomach. Uh,
And well,
but
it was the first person that didn't really slide him that he killed.
yeah, and
Like
looks up to him.
everyone else deserved to die. Well, you could argue, but
He's the
then
only person that didn't see him as a monster.
he
But
saw him as a man.
I think Oz is convinced that he is a monster, so now he's an outlier.
hmm
Everybody else was right. Sophia was right. His mom was right. Everybody who's ever called him a monster, the penguin, all those kind of things, they were all correct. He was wrong. Vic was wrong for thinking that there was anything good in him. Meanwhile, Sophia, now in Arkham, gets a letter from Selena Kyle claiming to be her half sister. Bum bum bum. And also Julian is working over there again because he wants to see his
hmm
boo and stuff. Sophia is dejected. She is not talking. She's not eating. She is back lost. And then she gets this moment, and there's almost a little bit of a glimmer of hope. What do you think she gets from that moment? That family she was looking for?
Yeah, I think she finally had someone in her family reaching out to her that wasn't her brother.
Yeah,
She has someone especially literally coming out of left field,
right.
like going like, "Hey, I'm here, not alone." And it is just fun. It's fun for I think the audience and like it's the Catwoman. She's really good at breaking things out and breaking things in.
That's
Like,
true. And she's also worked with Oz. She's worked alongside Oz at the Iceberg. She was a bartender or something like that.
yeah,
Bottle girl
yeah, she's
over
the
there.
bottle girl.
Yeah, she was a bottle girl over there. So like she would know that as well. Regarding Sophia's ending, the showrunner said, "With Sophia, I do view her as the closest thing we have to a hero on our show, even though, of course, she's not. It was really important for me that we align ourselves with Sophia as well, because otherwise, I think everyone would be cheering by the end for Oz. And I wanted it to hurt in a way, his rise." She also added that by having Oz send her back to Arkham Asylum, he chose a fate for her that's worse than that, which I agree. I
hmm
totally agree. Uh, um, while while the showrunner did not disclose the contents of the letter, she said that it would give Sophia a sense of hope. Oz takes Frances to a penthouse, saying that he finally kept his promise to her. She is a vegetable, and her bed is just facing the window. There's no other furniture in there. He's dressed to the nines. He's got his tails on, and he basically like, yeah, mom, this is everything I promised, right? And his mom lets out a solitary tear out of
Mhm.
her eye, the only voluntary thing that she can do, and it's a horrific moment. It's a horrific. It's proof that he wouldn't keep the promise, and I feel bad. I feel terrible for the women of this show. All the women of this show. What a again a fate almost worse than death. The monster that you didn't defeat is now keeping you in his lair and
Mhm.
pretending that all this is for you. Um,
He,
it's jacked up.
he's just a villain through and through,
Yeah.
and and worse than villainy is he's inherently selfish.
Yes.
And
Yes.
like, and I don't know if that's worse than villainy, but he's selfish in a way where he's willing to, I guess, literally keep people in prison in their own mind.
It's a
Ra-
selfishness that borders on greed because selfishness sometimes is fine, right? Like in the sense that if you feel like you need to get something for yourself, but we're shown that he was given, whether it was
Mhm.
love, attention. It's not like he went without. It just wasn't enough for him. So maybe greed more so than selfishness. He's a greedy man. He's a man who wants more, believes he should have more, believes he should be more, and that everyone should suffer because of it, because of the weird cards he was dealt. Everyone else should get screwed over and die on occasion.
Mhm.
You know, you're a good kid,
And
Vic, and he's strangling
yeah,
him. You
yeah.
know, I'm like,
And at this point, it worked out. He's finally the wealthy crime lord that he always wanted to be. Now we don't know if he's renowned or loved yet, but based off of him, literally, like, so they during this scene they showed a montage of every number two murdering the number ones in the gangs, which I thought was just a chef's kiss. Like, oh, you just see him slowly taking everybody out,
yep,
and the new way coming up. Now everyone has a person to thank, and everyone's going to be loyal to the Penguin. So
yeah.
we were kind of seeing him become that, well, potentially loved character, but we're seeing him give everybody a new lease because you're taking out the old ways and in with the new ways, with him literally at the top.
And he could possibly be enabling more penguins, right?
Mm-hmm.
More people who want greed and are willing to kill anybody. Half of these people can be like, I can't believe I did that. I did that for this guy. Like when everything gets is said and done, that's what it's gonna end up being at the end of the day. But up there with horrific. How did you feel about what Eve is doing? He's got Eve playing his mom.
Yes. Oedipus.
Yeah,
I don't have to go further. I can say Oedipus and
yeah,
just leave it
yeah,
there.
yeah,
And
yeah.
like,
It's the whole like big baby boy thing or whatever she said. I was like, like I don't like that.
yeah, tell me you love me. Tell me you're proud of me. Like, oh God, that's. And then she has like the wig on, like the mom. She's dressed in as dressed in one of the moms at the club.
It's so yeah, but she seems down with it. Is this just one of those things like with the girlfriend experience where she's like, "Well, I'm just getting paid. I'm leaving in an hour. This is what he wants. This is
Yeah,
what he wants."
I don't know. My wife ain't that cool. I love my wife, but she I don't. She ain't like that. She ain't
that's,
that cool.
that's,
And I'm thankful.
no, 100%, 100%. And yeah, penthouse, sun rooftop, digging in the scene with the gangster lean. He's hanging out. He's reached the top. There's nothing else to say here, but all of a sudden, out of nowhere, bat signal shine signals that the Batman is. The final scene shows the bat signal in the sky. The showrunner says, "We were searching for an elegant way to hand off our show to the Batman. It felt correct to have the bat signal undercut him and say, 'Oh, you haven't made it to the top yet. You're living in a fantasy, but there's a real larger world out there.'" Matt Reeves added, "We're kind of flicking you at the end of the story, at the end to say that the story's not over. The idea that Oz and these characters could be on a collision course at some point with Batman, that's of course out there. So we wanted to leave you with the sense that without overshadowing that this is really the completion of the story." I think that was done perfectly because these
For sure.
stories are happening in every corner of Gotham.
Hmm.
In every corner of Gotham, someone is closer to their origin, closer to the characters that we know them to be in Batman's ridiculous rogues gallery. But in serving this villain, I no notes, bro. I don't know. I couldn't have done this show. This show couldn't have
No,
came out of
for
me.
sure.
I didn't think that this show was capable of some of the things that they did here.
Yep, 100%. Like no, yeah, there's I don't I remember when they called it, I'm like, why? Like,
Yeah,
why is there a penguin show? But and then as I'm watching it, I'm like, oh, this is why there's a penguin show.
yeah.
Like this is the exact like you couldn't do this for Man Bat.
No,
Um, I don't think you could do a Joker show like this because I think it would just be like chaos the whole time.
yeah.
And even with if the writing was good, if he's just gonna be like, well, they blow this building up. And like
Yeah.
I think there's not really a story there. Um, the only other person I think they could do something with off the top of my head, it'd be fun to see like a law show with Two Face as Harvey Dent, like pre
Okay.
Two Face.
Yeah, yeah. That'll be pretty cool.
Especially if you have some carryover with, like the various gangs or whatever.
Yeah.
Uh,
What if he had to represent Sophia?
yeah, like there's a lot of things you could do, like especially if it's like a legal drama. Yeah, I love legal drama, so I'd probably be born for the most for average person.
Right, right, right.
Um, or even like like just I can't think of any other villain off the top of my head. This sucks. Like Calendar Man.
Yeah,
There
yeah,
we
yeah,
go.
yeah.
Like Professor Pig.
Yeah.
Like you could do something like
I'm still waiting on my boy Clayface, bruh. That's special
I
effects though.
I forget about Clayface every time.
That's my man's. He's just a big hunk of clay. But yeah, the doors are open for this. There was a theorized Joker series coming out, but James Gunn put a kibosh on that, said that thing is not happening. But I could see something happening with possibly with Catwoman. Is Sophia Falcone gonna get roped into the films? She seems to be one of the only people involved in this show that isn't. You
Yeah.
know, uh, you know, will they have to take down the Penguin in one of these movies? And is Sophia gonna help? All that stuff is so interesting. Um, I was almost against this universe existing as it is because this felt like eating the dessert before you ate the meal. The meal is supposed to be James Gunn's carefully plotted
Hmm.
15 movie structure to get us eventually to the Justice League. And this just felt like all the best of what I wanted, but without any other work. In the sense that we're just gonna do the Batman universe and that's fine. But they're just killing it. They're doing it. They're doing such a good job that I can't. I'm not adverse to it anymore. I'm allowing them to do their little pocket reality while we're reintroducing characters in the mainline universe, but it needs to be with this depth. You need to have a story to tell. You can tell when things are just being made for the sake of, oh, this was popular. We want to get some more money out of it. But this
Hmm.
had a story to tell. And it's one that twists and turns and gets you on people's side and off people's side. And ultimately, how you feel about it at the end is kind of how, like, kind of says a lot about you. You know?
Yeah, no, it was such a good it was such a good it was a good it's a good what's the word? Like appetizer to get me ready for Batman 2.
Yeah.
Like I didn't when they announced Batman the Batman, the Matt Reeves version, I remember thinking, do we need another Batman movie already? We just had Ben Affleck as Ben, no more than 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah, totally.
And then they announced Robert Pattinson. I'm like, okay. I mean, I think he's a good actor. I think he's done some really powerful things. And then I remember watching the Batman and seeing that he's young and he's sloppy and he's trying to figure it out. And then how they really played on Halloween right there in the beginning, and it was such a fun movie to watch.
Yeah, totally.
Um, I thought, oh wow, this is really good. And then again, when they announced this, it was like, oh, okay, we really don't need this again. And then this blew out of the water. Matt Reeves, I don't know. I don't know what can't he do.
Right. And again, what the showrunner, absolutely killed it.
Hmm.
And uh it's to thank for all this. Also, I always thought they had banging credit sequences. I thought the credit sequences of this show was really fun. Like all the
Oh yeah.
songs that they use and the way that the imagery of the city and the silhouettes of Sophia and Oz. But yeah, man, like if you've watched up to this far, hopefully you've seen this series because us just talking about it doesn't do it justice. This was a really,
Yeah.
really well done show, and I hope other shows. We were good to have. Like I liked Agatha, so we had Agatha, which was really, really good, and then we had Penguin, which is really, really good. Both of these shows, I will say, I had my arms crossed and said, why do they need to exist? And maybe we need to have more of those stories than the ones that I think are clear cut and always end up a mess. I'm like,
Hmm.
oh yeah, well they're doing this, so they're obviously setting up for that. And nope, nope, none of it. So I'm willing to take chances. And again, Mr. Freeze is right on Heart of Ice.
Yeah,
Heart of Ice.
Mr. Reeves gonna be good.
Come on, come on. Anything
Yeah.
left to say on the Penguin before we close up shop on the Iceberg Lounge until next time?
Give me a horror man bat movie with feed that features Mr. Pig
Yeah,
or
Professor
Professor
Big.
Pig.
Yeah,
Give me
Professor
both
Big
of
on his
those.
own is kind of jacked up.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like
Those Dollartrons and all that stuff. Nice. Yeah. No. Yeah, I
or
dig it.
the puppet, whatever I don't remember his name. Or
Scarface.
the ventriloquist
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
dummy.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And he's like, no, it wasn't me. It was him the whole time. Yeah, it's kind of
And
really, really
he's got a
jacked up.
Tommy gun.
Yeah. So yeah, man, this was absolutely tremendous. Praise be to those who did it, to those who worked hard on it, inside and out, all the actors, all the people on the sets, the special effects, the practical effects of Colin Farrell transforming into Oz, unmatched. People are gonna be talking about that forever, and it also goes to show how much practical um still has use in today's world, where they constantly just want to, put dots in your face and figure it out in post. But yeah, this was a labor of love from everybody involved, and I'm thankful I live in an era where we're able to just tackle. Oh yeah, they did a Penguin show on HBO. Think about 20 years ago, if somebody would have told you that.
Yeah,
Why
I'd
they didn't
laugh
do a
at you.
Batman show? They did a Penguin show. Oh, it is what it is. We're riding the wave, man. We are in an embarrassment of riches. The next year is about to be crazy. We're about to get Fantastic Four, Superman, new universes being built, old universes being destroyed. We got comics out the wazoo with the Absolute Universe, the Ultimate Universe. We'll be covering a lot here as part of the Major Issues podcast, and the only way to keep following everything that we do is to go to comicbookclick.com. It's the one stop for everything Comic Book Click. Articles written by us, our merchandise, and every episode of the Major Issues podcast. That's over 350 episodes. That's over 700 hours of content. A lot of content, people. Check it out. Check it out. But the podcast is also available wherever podcasts are found: Podbean, Stitcher, Podcast Addict, the Apple Podcast app, YouTube, Spotify, TuneFind, and more. So what I love, and this happened with my mom today. She was like, "Oh," I was like, "I'm gonna be live talking about the Penguin." She's like, "Where?" I was like, "I'm on Facebook." She's like, "How do I get there?" I'm like, "Well, Facebook.com/comic book click." And she's like, "Oh, I typed it in Google and you were the first one to pop up." I'm like, "Yes, we are. We're always the first ones
Hmm.
to pop up because we're always talking about the latest, greatest things to come to comic books and comic book media." We have our footprint out there. You Google Major Issues Podcast, we're the first ones to come up. You Google Major Comic Book Click, we're the first ones to pop up. And we got some exciting stuff coming to the future of Comic Book Click as we further solidify our place here in the midst of comic books and comic book media. We can't do it alone though. We do it with the help of you guys. So if you guys want to pick us some smeckles, either way, you can consider becoming a Patreon. Patreon.com/CBC Clubhouse. As little as 10 cents a day, $2 a month. You can help us afford the lights. Afford to keep our lights on here and afford the hardware and the software that we need to keep providing you guys content free of charge. We've overhauled our editing for major previews to give you guys a bit of a quicker turnaround. So get ready for some new episodes of previews. We just got the October episode out, but we're hoping to have the November episode out very, very soon, and then the December episode. So you have a full year of comic book recommendations every single month of this year. Labor of love. We keep doing this free of charge. So if you can consider becoming a Patreon. If you consider buying some merch from comicbookclick.com, our T Public store, we get a kickback of every single one of those designs. They're all designed by me, so you get a unique design and we get some money. If you can't give us money, that's fine. It's hard out here ever since the Riddler broke that bridge. Consider rating and reviewing us on iTunes. It's the quickest way we can grow as podcasters, find out what you like and what you don't. I've been to the future where we do become the latest and greatest thing to come to comic books and comic book media, but I can't tell you how we do it as it will mess up the timeline. Next thing you know, I got a bum leg and I'm dragging my foot. I'm hobbling around, dragging my foot. You don't want to mess up the timeline. So, yeah. Last thing I want to say is I want to shout out our boys over at Dirt Sheet Radio. We are currently roommates over at comicbookclick.com, and those guys are killing it each and every week with their in-depth professional wrestling and pop culture analysis. They do live breakdowns, post shows for every single wrestling event, things like Raw, SmackDown, Dynamite, Collision, and whatever Ring of Honor is doing at the moment. But consider checking them out every single day. As I like to say, turn on the Dirt Sheet Radio. There's always something playing. Those guys do great work over there, and they help us out over here. become the latest and greatest thing to come to comic book media. So just want to shout out the guys over there. I love you always. But yeah, man, check out past episodes. Check out the website. Check out the live. We do this live every single week. The episodes come out in audio form on Thursday. But guess what? If you're watching us right now, you're ahead of the game. You checked out our entire episode before we are worldwide on Thursday. So consider dropping in for an episode of Major Issues Live. And you can only do that if you're following us at Comic Book Click at Facebook. So yeah, that's all I got here. Is there anything you want to plug, Mr. Asa?
If you guys want to follow me on Twitch at CBC All Star Asa, it's spelled ASA at the end. I go online time to time. Currently running through Pal World. I'm also rerunning through Baldur's Gate 3. If anyone's interested in seeing a Dirge playthrough, and if you don't get that, then you don't want to watch it. But if you do get that, you're gonna want to come over. It's a lot of fun. And then you can also find me on Threads at Asa H Griffith.
Okay.
I do politics, I do football, I bitch about the current state of the world, and it's only gonna get more fun.
Oh, it's worth bitching about. I'll tell you that. I'll tell you that. Go ahead and check out All Star Asa at those various locations as we continue to do what we do here as part of Comic Book. But we're wrapping things up, so there's nothing else left to say. But my name is George Serrano, aka the Don.
I'm All Star Asa.
And this has been our The Penguin recap and review. And remember, whether you're one of the Falcons, one of the Maronis, one of the Gigantes, or just love your mom long enough to keep her in a vegetative state as you dance with your hooker downstairs who's also dressed like her, remember that we are the Click. And always remember that yes, use, are worthy. Use.
Recording
Yins.
stopped.
Use.
Yins are worthy.